Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. We are live in Victoria, where the excitement is palpable, the atmosphere crackling for the royal visit of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge.
You can see the crowds behind us. They've been building all day long, and they'll continue to over the next few hours, of course, while we bring you live coverage of the arrival of Prince William and Kate and their children, of course, Prince George and Princess Charlotte. Now, they're due to land at 443 Squadron near Victoria Airport in about 30 minutes from now, and there's a shot of it right now.
That's the pool camera, and we will be sharing video and the pool feed with many other broadcasters. That'll be your first glimpse. Pretty tight turnaround at the airport. They've got 10 minutes from when they hit the tarmac to when they need to start leaving, and the motorcade takes them along Pat Bay Highway here into downtown Victoria. First stop at Government House, the residence of the Lieutenant Governor, where they will drop the children and all of the staff that will be looking after them for a great part of this trip.
So we'll get a chance, hopefully during this visit, to see Princess Charlotte and Prince George, but not sure if it will be on their arrival today, this afternoon. But of course, after Government House, they'll be coming here to the legislature. That's why the crowds are here, of course. This is where they will be officially welcomed to Canada and to BC for their week-long trip to BC and the Yukon.
And it'll be the first place that we hear Prince William speak and address the crowd as well. So a number of dignitaries will be up behind the dais, up on the steps right in front of the legislature. The first thing they'll do when they arrive is place a wreath at the cenotaph in the corner of the legislature grounds, and then very slowly, we assume, make their way along the red carpet. And there are two of them that intersect or bisect the grounds, and they'll walk along that back to the dais, the podium at the front, which they are checking right now. And you can tell they're running through some of the checks just to make sure that the audio is perfect for when they arrive.
It's a lot of ceremony that will be happening here later this afternoon. There will be a 21-gun salute. There will be a traditional First Nations dance. The Victoria Choir, Children's Choir will be singing as well. And of course, lots of people here to just catch a glimpse of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. And our Sonia Dial has been with all of those people, the crowds gathering outside the legislature here in Victoria since early this morning. Sonia.
Hi there, Sophie and Chris. What a fantastic crowd of people here in Victoria. Check these guys out. We are definitely getting into the mood and looking forward to the arrival of the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. As you guys said, there are sound checks going on right now, which you can probably hear. They've got to get absolutely right. Ever since this morning, that red carpet was rolled out at around 6 o'clock this morning. They were vacuuming it. They were making sure there was no leaves on the ground, cleaning up everything, making sure that this trip goes perfectly. And as you can see, I mean, if you look at the crowds, they are slowly building up. Can we hear you guys? Right across everywhere. And you know what I love about this trip especially, which is really noticeable, is the ages. I mean, this is a trip that connects with people of so many generations. People excited with not just the royal couple, but the fact that they're going to see them with the Trudeaus. They're the two power couples of the world right now, and you're very excited, right?
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
Well, we are excited. We've been waiting for this for several months now.
Yeah, and you guys definitely look very royal, I have to say.
It's a chance of a lifetime.
Yeah. Who are you most excited about?
I'd like to see Kate.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Well, I mean, she could learn a thing or two from you with the old-fashioned thing going on there. And over here, I have to say, Chris and Sophie, we have found some ladies. Would you like a cup of tea?
It's time for Levenses.
We're so happy to be here. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see all four of them.
Yeah, it's like Chris just said. Is it time for 11s?
Maybe a Pims later, I'm thinking. Yeah, absolutely.
Now, tell us your story. I mean, why the connection with this royal family? What is it for you?
Well, most of my grandparents are from England, and my granny, who I adore, used to clip everything about the royals, and so I've just grown up that way, so interested and fascinated with them, so I'm really excited to be there and thinking of her today.
And I mean, you guys have been holding these teacups. You actually have been holding them for hours now.
We love our tea.
Yes.
So you get a real idea of what's going on here. As I said, that there are people looking forward to seeing the Trudeaus and the royal couple together. And as you guys said, it is not long to go. We can't wait.
No surprise to a lot of our viewers, Sonia, you are our resident expat Brit and an expert in your own right on the royals, having covered them many times. years when you worked in London. How does this compare in terms of the preparation, the crowd growing? What was your experience like covering the Royals previous to this?
Well, you know, I have to say the time when the royal family was really popular and it's you know, in terms of connecting with people, was without question the time of Princess Diana. She was glamorous, she was beautiful, she connected with people, and that is when the royal family was on the front pages and talked about all of the time. And after that, Chris and Sophie, what happened? The royal family really did take a downturn. They were not that popular, and they had a bit of a PR problem in terms of how they were going to make themselves look relevant and connect with people. After the marriage of Prince William and Kate, that is really when people started to just be fascinated with them and just think, wow, I've got to get a glimpse of these guys. And so in my experience, what I've been seeing over the last few years, especially since they've had their children, it has really been brilliant for the royal family. This is the kind of attention they get wherever they go.
A royal revival, as we've talked about this week. Thanks very much, Sonia. We'll check in with you a little bit later as well.
I was actually speaking with some of the international media who are here as well, the royal correspondents for the BBC and ITV, and a reporter from Australia as well. And they all said the reason they're here is because the kids are here. It's all about the kids. They want to see Prince George. They want to see Princess Charlotte. So hopefully we'll get some chances to see those two.
Yeah, the official word was that we wouldn't really get a chance to see them. Baldry was on the conference call. We wouldn't get a chance to see the children until the day the royal family was leaving, but that somehow seems like we'd get shortchanged, especially with some of the sentiment you hear in the crowd here. It's very important for people to get a glimpse of them, and we'll see if it happens. Time will tell.
A lot of security here as well, and we've seen the change from yesterday when we got here and today in the preparations and the building of the sets and the stage and the perimeter here as well. And you saw quite a few police officers around.
Well, the perimeter really started to shrink, and as high-profile a family as we're talking about.
So keep that in mind for the rest of this trip as well, because they're going to several towns throughout the province and the Yukon. Here's a look at where they will be going this trip, and you may experience some road closures, some security in these towns as well. Of course, they'll be in Victoria less than an hour from now, the ceremonial welcome here at the legislature. Then tomorrow it's off to Vancouver for an event at Jackpool Plaza. They'll visit Bella Bella and the Great Bear Rainforest on the 26th.
Then it's going to be off to Kelowna for a little wine tasting on the 27th. I know they're thrilled at Mission Hill Winery there to get a visit from the Royals. After that, the next day, heading to Whitehorse, Carcross, Yukon. September 30th, they'll be in Haida Gwaii. And they round out their tour with a very busy day in October 1st, back here in Victoria.
It's a very busy itinerary. Each day is jam-packed pretty much. Here's a look at what's on tap today. We did mention they'll be landing at 443 Squadron. In about half an hour from now, they will then, of course, make their way to Government House. That's where they'll be basing themselves for this trip. They'll be dropping off their children, Prince George and Princess Charlotte. Then they will head here to the legislature for the official welcome and to pay their respects at Victoria's cenotaph.
Yes, the welcome features full military honors, including a 21-gun salute, which is always bone-rattling and impressive. After that, they'll head to Government House, where they'll have some meetings with senior Canadian leaders, including the Governor-General and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. So yes, a very busy day for them here. And just as an aside, and we talked about this a little bit in a Facebook post we did last night, this is also, today at this event, is the first time they're going to use the brand new hydraulic flagpole on the grounds of the legislature. So for mechanical geeks like me, that's going to be very impressive to see as well.
He is about as excited about that flagpole as he is about the Duke and Duchess coming to visit.
True.
So
sadly.
Now, as Sonia showed us, people have been arriving here at the legislature since early this morning, but of course preparations have been underway here in Victoria for weeks now.
As Kylie Stanton reports, everyone in the city of Victoria is very aware that this royal visit will put their capital city in the global spotlight.
Platforms are being constructed, tents are going up, and every detail, down to the flowers, is accounted for.
We're taking the sun baskets down, and there's a crew going behind us hanging the shade baskets.
All of it setting the stage for one of the most highly anticipated royal visits in history.
It's unprecedented what has been going on with this couple. They are international celebrities. Their pictures are in the newspapers, in magazines all the time. It is an exercise in showcasing all that we have to offer.
That includes everything from the food, maybe even some local beer for the future king. Staff at Government House, which will be home base for the family of 4, isn't giving away any secrets, only saying they plan on welcoming their guests in style.
We have a lot of very special things, little touches that we've put in and around the grounds and in the house just to make sure that this day is enjoyable for them.
But no one is expected to enjoy it more than the fans.
So this is going to be the standing VIP section.
For members of the Monarchist League of Canada, this royal visit is nothing short of a dream come true. A once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
For them to be able to be up close and personal with the royal couple, seeing the person behind the role, that's really important to them. And we will be at that VIP section hoping that they come by so that we can shake their hand.
But even catching a glimpse of the family could be a challenge. Between 20 and 30,000 people are expected to crowd onto the legislature lawn. That means transit and taxis will be busy. And as for finding a hotel, you might have to be resourceful.
It's busy, but it's not full. You know, encouraging people, you know, if you want to come, there's still place for you. Come and join us in welcoming the royal family.
The attention and all of the preparation that's gone into this will only help showcase what Victoria has to offer, what could pay off for years to come. Kylie Stanton, Global News, Victoria.
Strange to see the ground so empty in some of those shots because it really is starting to fill up now. Thousands of people on the lawn behind us. Not quite at 25 or 30,000 yet, but it's getting there.
We still have a little ways to go before they actually get here to the legislature, so I'm sure it'll fill up. We met Phil Dampier yesterday. He's joining us for a special coverage. Nice to see you again, Phil. Phil, of course, a journalist and author who's been covering the royal family for decades.
Don't say 30 years. It makes me sound old.
Too long. But wow, you've seen some amazing things, and we mentioned it a little bit earlier about the royal revival and how this trip in particular, with the children along, is very important.
Well, I was just thinking, Chris, as I walked around this beautiful city earlier on, that this is actually named after, and I'm going to get this right, Prince William's great-great-great-grandmother. And when you think about it, Prince George could possibly become the first king of the 22nd century. So that puts it in context.
It really does, doesn't it?
Now, I know the folks
22nd century. Incredible, isn't it?
The folks in Prince George, BC, were sure hoping that little Prince George would be coming up to visit that city as well. But the children will not, as far as we've been told, be traveling with William and Kate at all.
No, what they're going to do is they're going to leave them at Government House. They've got a nanny, a Spanish nanny, who's going to look after them, and then they're going to go out on each individual trip and come back and see them. But we will see them at least once, possibly with the military families later in the week. So you will get a glimpse of them.
So they are tied to Victoria a little bit. Is that different from previous?
No, that's what they did. They called it a sort of hub and spoke arrangement, and they did this in Australia a couple of years with George, and then of course they did take him to Taronga Zoo in Sydney. And that's where he really hit the headlines and charmed people. And they dubbed him the Republican Slayer there. And I think they're hoping he might do the same here. And of course, Charlotte, when they get off that plane, will they have a royal wave? Will they have practiced that? We don't know. But I expect Kate will be wearing something red, and to give a special tribute to Canada. And we'll see what the kids are wearing.
Well, we certainly know the Premier is wearing red. We saw her earlier in a dress that she had custom made for the event. She's on her way to the airport. They should be arriving here now. It looks like in about 15
Sophie's wearing red, so everyone's
15 minutes.
I can't wait to see this flagpole. I've never seen the mechanical flagpole.
I know, it's a mechanical. It's a hydraulics flagpole.
I've never seen one in 30 years.
And Chris has his royal purple tie on. So the fact that they are bringing the children, despite the fact they won't be taking them with them throughout the entire province.
Yeah.
What's the significance of that? Why is it important for them to bring George and Charlotte along with them?
Well, I think they've got to start sometime. George, of course, has been on a tour before. This is the first time that Charlotte has been. She's now, 16 months old. George is 3, so they're growing up rapidly. Are they going to have a third child soon? And I think the big question is whether the Queen will ever come to Canada again, because they're actually representing the Queen. There are rumours she might come next year for the 150th celebrations. That would be fantastic. But long-haul flights basically are out for her now. She's 90. She'll be 91 next year. So this is introducing the new generation.
I wanted to ask you, because certainly over the last few decades, you have seen the scandals that have rolled across and been managed by the royals. And today we learned of another one with Pippa Middleton's iCloud account being hacked, and possibly thousands of photographs being released and held hostage in a certain way. How will the royal family deal with that?
It's very difficult these days, especially with social media, especially with everyone wanting to take selfies all the time. So the privacy is a difficult problem. The one thing the Queen can't stand now is when she's walking around and there's nobody sort of clapping her anymore. They're just taking pictures of her, and she finds that very odd because she's used to the applause, and now it's just people sort of clicking cameras. So that is strange. But no, I think the scandals of the past, hopefully a thing of the past. William and Kate are fairly squeaky clean, really. Still got Harry, of course, who likes to have the occasional booze up and go a bit silly sometimes. But I think people like him for that.
Well, it keeps us entertained, right?
It does keep us entertained. People think he's one of us, so
as long as he doesn't go too far.
Not too far. He's growing up rapidly,
and that is part of the appeal, isn't it? That they're a family. They're dealing with the same, to a certain extent, pressures of raising two children that a lot of people are. Harry is a young man who is trying to find his way in the world, and there's a sort of a tangible reality to them.
Well, if Harry finds finally a bride, I mean, that would just go into orbit, and I think that she'll become an absolute global superstar overnight. At the moment, he's struggling to find somebody, but when he does, that'll take a little bit of pressure off William and Kate, and because they do like to have their privacy. But slowly but surely, they're introducing the children and looking to the future.
You talked about Prince George being the Republican slayer, and his parents, I guess, started the resurgence, the royal revival. How have you seen the ups and downs in the past few years?
Well, I think I was saying to you yesterday, Sophie, that prior to 2011, when William and Kate got married, it was getting very, very flat. I mean, I was almost out of a job, to be honest.
Right.
No interest at all.
No interest whatsoever. But since they got married, it's gone through the roof again, and they are this very glamorous couple. Some people are saying they're a little bit too middle-aged before their time, but I think that's a little bit unfair. And of course, William does work, so he's trying to keep that balance at the moment.
Right.
Lots more to cover with you, Phil. Thank you very much for your time and your expertise. We'll keep you around and keep checking in. Still watching the clock and the arrival expected of the aircraft out at 443 Squadron at the Victoria Airport very shortly, here in about 13 minutes.
Yes, so we will take a break here on our very special royal coverage. We'll be right back with more from the BC Legislature.
There was a famous eye images picture in the focus one.
I know. They nearly put your name on it, apparently. You're going to start that game, mate. Yeah. Maybe it is. It's not the grey one, though, is it? Oh, yeah, that's it.
Oh, it's all good. I'm sure they'll won't be the first.
No, the excitement was too much for me. The excitement of seeing a plane.
Nice to have you back here with our live coverage in Victoria. That's a live shot out at 443 Squadron near the Victoria Airport.
Now, we did see a Government of Canada plane earlier during the break when we were looking at this shot. Not sure if that is the one that's carrying William and Kate, but I would hazard a guess that it could very well be the one. They're due to land in about 10 minutes from now.
That's when we were expecting the meet and greet. It's not going to surprise me if they're on the tarmac already. They're accounting for the taxiing time, and by the top of the hour, they will have the dignitaries on the tarmac there to reach them. So we believe that is the plane on which the royals have flown over.
The Governor General will be there with his wife to greet the royal couple, along with the Lieutenant Governor of BC. Of course, the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and his wife, Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, and Premier Christy Clark. And we saw her earlier with her son, Hamish, so I'm sure he'll be there as well.
And very, very appropriate place for the Prince to land, too, as a Coast Guard pilot of Sea King helicopters. I mean, you couldn't pick a better place for him to land and to be welcomed in many ways, because 443 Squadron fly Sea King helicopters. They're part of the coastal rescue system that we have on the West Coast here, and I'm sure that there will be some camaraderie if he gets a chance to talk to any of the guys there at 443 Squadron. He's probably very happy to be near those Sea Kings. Yeah. And
it'll feel a little bit like home, right?
It'll feel a little bit like home. Yeah, exactly, for him.
So as we mentioned, Premier Christy Clark, of course, part of the Royal Welcome Wagon at 443 and here at the Legislature. Our Squire Barnes caught up with her a short time ago to chat about the visit and what it means for BC.
How many royals have you met in your life?
The Queen was here, so I met the Queen, and I think that's it.
How was that?
She was very nice. The thing about the Queen is she just seems so normal. I mean, very high end, but just, she's got the purse and the hat. And she looks kind of, she looks like if I had a rich, really, well-behaved grandmother, that's what she would look like.
Now, do you get instructions on what to do?
So here's what I know. No selfies. Definitely no selfies.
So really, I know we're not, the general crowd is not supposed to take selfies. So you don't get like some sort of selfie pass?
No, I don't. My son is here, and I've said to him, don't even think about it. 15 years old.
Do you think Justin Trudeau would follow that rule?
I guess we're gonna find out.
Because he likes his selfies.
He does like them. We all do selfies, because that's what everybody does nowadays. But I think if the rule is you're not supposed to do it, you don't want to create an international diplomatic incident, really.
Yeah, that's
right.
True.
I mean, they're here. We want to set out the best foot forward for British. What do we want them to remember about British Columbia? The Great Bear Rainforest, preserving 7% of our land base, the bears and the toads and all the beautiful things that we're preserving. Do we want them to remember, those rude people took a selfie?
That rude premier that wanted to take a selfie.
Insisted on a selfie? I mean, I want them to remember British Columbia for what it is. I think you need to address them properly, Your Highness. But I think Will and Kate are pretty laid back. They're people, they're really well loved. She wears her dresses more than once, which is a first for any royal, I mean, I think they have a little bit of the common touch that Princess Diana had. I think that's going to be.
Okay, let me ask you, because she's such a fashion icon.
Yes.
When you woke up this morning, were you thinking, oh boy, I got to pick the right thing here?
I have to say, I went, and I'm not really a pomp and circumstance person. I'm a Burnaby girl and all that stuff, So I had this dress made by a local designer named Chloe Angus, and she works with a Haida artist. And so I actually had a dress made.
So this is the dress you had made?
This is the dress I had made, yeah. And I thought,
And you've never done that before?
No, I've never had a dress specifically made for any of it. My mother would be very proud of me at this point if she was still alive.
Oh, that's good.
Because she would say, I never thought I'd see the day where Christy would go out and have a dress made. So and I like it that it's local.
Well,
we saw it in person. It's beautiful.
We did, yeah. And she brought her A game because she's dealing with a couple of fashion icons. Yeah. Speaking of which, Matt Fable from ET Canada joins us now, and really nice to have you a part of this. Talk a little bit about the fascination that people have with Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, with Kate, and
I mean, at the end of the day, Kate and William, while they're royalty, they're also celebrities. They have the entire world following their every single move, everywhere they go. So Entertainment Tonight Canada is essentially here to do the same thing. Yep. We're going to be covering them all week long, as well as covering the fashion, because Kate has emerged as quite a fashion icon. I remember, when she visited the Obamas back in 2011, she wore a Reese dress, and founder of that company, David Reese, said when that image popped up online, it caused the server to crash because so many people wanted to purchase it. And then when service resumed, it sold out instantaneously. So she's quite the fashion icon.
She breaks the internet with some of the...
She does break the internet.
And there are all those websites about what she wore as well. Of course, this is just a live shot at 443. Squadron right now, and there you see the aircraft coming in, and it's about 5 minutes before the scheduled arrival of the royal couple. So we'll get our first glimpse of what Kate is wearing, which I know a lot of people were thinking about that and curious about that. Have you had any intel, Matt, about what?
I haven't had any intel. There's been a lot of speculation because, she does adore Alexander McQueen. That's one of her favorite designers. So, but this is somewhat of a casual trip, So I don't know if she'll kind of maybe be dressed down a little bit more throughout the course of this trip. But a lot of people as well talking about the kids.
Yes, and what they will be wearing.
Yeah.
Because people are, I'm sure there are websites dedicated to what did Charlotte wear and what did George wear.
For sure. But this is Princess Charlotte's big debut, so to speak. It's her first official trip. She's only 16 months old, but Prince George has already emerged as a fashion icon at 3 years old. So I know a lot of people will be speculating and looking at what they're wearing as well.
All right, well, just so you know what you're looking at now on the pool feed, it's the arrival of the Government of Canada plane that is carrying the royals, flying the royal flag, out the windshield of the aircraft as it rolls up to a stop, and we'll get our first glimpse of Prince William and Catherine when they disembark.
And I know that the scheduled appearances for the children, as you said, Chris, we're not really supposed to get official glimpses of them until October 1st, the last day in Victoria, and maybe that children's party as well. But they have to get off the plane somehow.
That's right.
And there's a camera that's following every move of that plane. So hopefully we'll see them. I was chatting with one of the reporters earlier today from, I believe it was Australia, and it's funny, this couple, every move is watched, and so she was speculating as to how will they walk off the plane. Will one be carrying one child and the other parent be carrying the other child? That's how closely they're watched.
I know.
It's incredible.
I think a lot of people enjoy how relatable they kind of are. I know Kate, a while back, she wore a $20 Zara necklace she had that was fake crystals with a Roland Moret gown she was going to premiere in, and a lot of people love the fact that she's relatable in that sense and still thrifty. So.
Definitely.
Well, listen, Matt, we appreciate you sharing your expertise with us. We know you're going to be following the royal couple around, and we look forward to more of your coverage. Thanks so much for your time here on our broadcast.
All right.
Thank you, Matt. And again, there's the Royal Standard. That is in the Government of Canada plane. We will take a quick break here. Oh, no break. Sorry, no break. No break.
It seems like it'd be a silly time to take a break, because I know they're going to crack that door any moment. Obviously, I think they have to roll the stairs out to the aircraft. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to play out at 443 Squadron, but...
All right, there's Premier Christy Clark, there's Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. I believe that's Sophie Trudeau probably in the hat there. And Governor General David Johnson with his wife Sharon, the Lieutenant Governor, will be on hand as well to greet the royal family.
So how is this going to roll out, Phil? Do you have any?
The first thing to know is it's incredibly punctual, isn't it? They're absolutely on the dot. There was a rumour yesterday they were going to be about a quarter of an hour later, but they seem to be 4 o'clock on the dot, which of course is midnight back in London. So a lot of the papers are holding open to get these pictures on the front pages. Some of them will get it, some of them won't.
Right.
But good to see they're on time.
A lot of media.
That's down to the Canadian Air Force.
Yeah.
Well, we can take the credit then.
They take great pride in flying in the royal family. They always have done, because as soon as they leave British soil on that Canadian plane, they're very much regarded as the Canadian royals. And that's something that the Royal Canadian Air Force has always taken a great pride in.
I was thinking that a visit like this would probably be done with military precision, military timing for sure. Is that usually what happens with
things do go wrong? In fact, the Queen and Prince Philip often say that they like it when things go wrong, because normally their whole lives are so sort of planned and regimented that when there's a cock up, they love it.
And a little spontaneity goes a long way.
Prince Philip loves to laugh at it when things go wrong, but getting stuck in lifts is a favourite.
Yes, indeed. There you see the welcoming party again. It's comprised of the Governor General, David Johnston, in front there with his wife, Sharon.
Looks quite windy there, so obviously we're going to have the classic dilemma for Kate to make sure when she's coming down those steps that she keeps her dress down. Maybe she's carrying Charlotte. That might be a little bit difficult, so we'll see with the wind there. It's obviously quite windy. And that's another thing they have to learn when they're in the public eye all the time, how to cope with that.
Have you
We don't want a Marilyn Monroe moment as she's coming down steps.
No, absolutely
So
not.
William, of course, grew up with all of this attention on him. Kate did not. But have you seen a growth of maturity in her, more experience?
Very much so. I mean, Kate's really matured in the last couple of years, and she's doing a lot more solo jobs now, getting involved in a lot more charities. She started off with just 2 or 3, and now she's really building up a portfolio, maybe 30 or 40. Got some way to go, of course, before she reaches the Queen and Prince Philip, who've got something like 800 patronages. Yeah, she's building up slowly, and I think she's a lot more professional, much more comfortable with crowds now than she used to be.
And really that
confidence,
and really that was a lesson learned from the way the royal family handled Diana, was it not? To kind of roll Kate's experience and exposure out at a slower rate to give her a chance to get up to
I think so, yeah. She's had certain speech lessons, and she's certainly been introduced to it slowly at her own rate, and the public speaking, she found that very, very nerve-wracking to start with, as most people do, but now she's quite a natural at it.
Yeah, I think you can see the difference in her confidence level over the years.
Yeah.
Do Pippa or the other Middletons, do they get any of this kind of coaching as well? Because even though they're not part of the royal family,
no, I don't know, not at all. I mean, they were staying with the Queen the other week at Balmoral, and there were pictures of the Queen driving around with Kate's mum in the front seat, Carol Middleton, so they're obviously well in there. But no, they wouldn't get any special training at all.
Right.
But
they're just in-laws now.
Sorry?
They're just in-laws now.
They're just the in-laws. They're actually in favour with the Queen much more than any other in-laws I've ever known. I mean, I've never known other in-laws to sort of be invited to something like Balmoral or go to Ascot. They stay in their box at Ascot, or even go shooting with them or whatever, and that shows that they're really keen on them.
Would the royals have anything to say about what happened with Pippa and the iCloud account? Would Buckingham Palace make a phone call?
No, I think that would. They might do something behind the scenes, but because obviously the content involved is theoretically supposed to have involved the Kate as well. But they very much regard Pippa as an individual. She's a private individual. I think if they started to kind of interfere and speak for her, it would set a bit of a dangerous precedent. Where do you stop? Family members of the in-laws. It would be difficult.
So there's, of course, Justin Trudeau and his wife Sophie, who are sort of like a royal-ish family for Canada.
Yeah, so I gather.
Well. Is there
very
much
glamorous
fascination with Justin and Sophie in the UK?
They're starting to. As a result of this visit, they're getting a lot more publicity than I've seen before, and I think there is a massive interest. Obviously, I'm of an age, as we mentioned before, so very kindly that I remember, obviously, his father. He was...
Dapper in his own right.
Dapper in his own right, and he was. I think he was quite a popular figure with the Queen. I think the Queen quite liked him, so interesting to see this. And of course, they've met at Commonwealth conferences. So the Queen will be watching this with intense interest back home. She's at Balmoral at the moment, and she always likes to keep an eye on how her relatives do abroad, and very much feels they're representing her.
Now, Phil, have you ever had a chance to speak with any of the royal family?
I have, yes. And
how much can you tell us about it?
Well, no, it's always. I mean, I remember one trip to Australia where you may remember there was the famous quote from Prince Philip where he was talking to an Aboriginal leader and said to him, "Do you still throw spears at each other?"
Right,
and that,
yes.
I mean, that was one of his famous gaffes. And the next day, he just came over to us and saw us all standing there, and there'd been sort of these headlines all over the world, and he just came around and said, "Trouble you lot is you've got no sense of humour." Absolutely knows, and he just didn't seem to mind, But I like that about him. He's kind of speaks his mind and doesn't really worry about the consequences. But that's not true of the younger royals. They are very careful about what they say.
Well, there's been very little activity around the plane since it rolled up and stopped. Although we just saw a gentleman walking over underneath the fuselage there. So
there we are.
They're rolling the stairs
just
up
as you
to the door
speak.
right
There's
now.
the steps. Yeah,
and only moments away, I'm sure, from getting our first glimpse of Prince William and Catherine very soon on Canadian soil.
Maybe they're just getting the children ready, getting the camera ready, making sure there's no fussing or anything like that. Do you know how many people they're coming with? What
they've got an entourage of they'll have quite a few. I think there's something like 50, 60 of them. There's going to be on that plane. Hairdressers, press officers, private secretaries. Obviously, people in charge of the clothes. It's suggested that Kate's going to bring about 50 or 60 outfits because we've got 32 engagements.
Right.
And obviously, the crowd seems to be worried about something there. But
there's quite a murmur that's gone through the crowd here. So
perhaps they can see somebody at the window.
They can actually. Yeah. There's a giant monitor that's just out of view behind us, and they're watching.
Maybe they got a glimpse of one of the kids looking out the window. That would be a lovely shot if some very eagle-eyed photographer will be looking for that, trying to get a picture of one of them looking out of the window and get the first glimpse. And that will be online within minutes. Don't ask me who he is.
Security detail for sure. Laying down of the rug.
Security detail always wears dark glasses, dark suits, and speaks into their wrist, right?
I've seen it in the movies. It's generally accurate too.
All right, so yeah, that's on the monitor for the crowds here on the lawn of the legislature.
And I'm quite certain that the crowd behind us is going to erupt the moment they step around the corner.
Oh, the anticipation. Who will it be first?
Keep in mind, according to the royal itinerary, they are to be leaving in the cars at 10 after. So it doesn't leave a lot of time now for them to do the greetings at the bottom of the stairs and load up into the vehicles and get on the road.
I'm guessing you're a parent of a young child too. Timelines are never really that precise when you're dealing with young children, right? So you have to kind of go by their schedule a little bit.
Well, it's hard to imagine the coordination, the attention to detail that needs to go into a trip, coordinating the movements and the schedules of up to 60 staff.
Yeah, it's always interesting when you see them get off the plane on these events, and the royals go off in their cars, of course, and then you see these minibuses with all these staff in them, crammed into them, carrying their clothes and all sorts of things, rushing to get into the convoy so that they make sure they don't get left behind with the police outriders taking them all the way into town. So you'd love to be in there now, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah.
They're torturing us here.
So we didn't hear. I think the first word we got about this trip was in August. Something like that. Mm-hmm. Would it have been in the works for quite some time before?
Yeah, it would have been planned that the Foreign Office would have been working on this for some time, and obviously with their first trip being in 2011, shortly after the wedding, that's now 5 years ago, and I think it's significant that they've come back to Canada so relatively quickly. Is that William? No. Yes, there he is.
It is. There he is.
No, he's got. Oh.
And Princess Charlotte, Catherine and Prince George there.
Got that wrong. No red in sight.
All blue.
Royal blue.
Mm-hmm.
Royal blue.
Oh, he couldn't be cuter, Prince George. And Princess Charlotte with the beret in her hair. I mean, really cute.
And the crowd here, as you predicted, Chris, very happy about this.
She's grown quite a lot.
They do grow up too fast, don't they?
Well, they certainly gave the Canadian public what they were hoping for. The money shot, as we call it sometimes in the industry, stepping off the plane, children very close to them, Charlotte in Catherine's arms, and now the greeting from the Governor General, David Johnston, and his wife, Sharon. And a Sea King perfectly dropping into the background there.
George distracted by the Sea King, too. That's what Daddy flies.
Yeah.
He's yawning already. He's bored.
Well,
he's bored, Bridget, but he's getting jet lag. Poor little George there.
It is midnight where they're from.
Now, after a transatlantic flight, I do not look that good.
I sympathise with him there. He's saying, how much more of this?
Oh, he's doing well. And
Now,
I'm sure he's getting used to it, I'm sure, too.
Yeah. Is it a coincidence that that's the shade that Sophie Gregoire Trudeau is wearing is so similar to the shade that it's purple and blue, certainly in the same color spectrum? They wouldn't have talked about this, would they?
I don't think they would have talked about it, no. I mean, it's possible, I suppose, but I am surprised she's not wearing red, I must admit. I thought she would, but I'm sure we'll see many red outfits throughout the tour. But they're very well coordinated, aren't they, with all in blue, with George in blue there as well. I've seen him in a similar outfit to that before. It seems to like the long socks rather than short socks for some reason.
It looks almost like the accessory on her hat there. Is it maple leaves, or it may just be the screen that I'm looking at, but I can't really tell.
Yeah, it's certainly evocative of a maple leaf, isn't it? If it isn't one specifically, but
that would be nice. That would be a nice
There's the Premier and Hamish talking to little George.
And Hamish looks dapper in the bow tie as well.
He does. Another,
he's grown up
and he was in the public eye growing up as well a little bit too. Not obviously like Prince George, but I'm sure he's felt it.
That's great. You can just I mean, you can't hear it, but you know the shutters, the buttons being pushed on all the cameras, and the photos that will show up in the British papers now.
He's looking around, and I think Prince Charles and Prince William have both spoken in the past about this sort of shock of when you finally realise who you are, you know, and what having your whole life mapped out in front of you, and knowing that this is what it's going to be like now. You're going to have these cameras on you and have this all the time, and to some extent you have to feel a little bit sorry for them. It's not their choice, is it? They're born into it, and but unfortunately he's going to have to get used to it.
Oh, she's got a maple leaf pin on, so there's
maple leaf
definitely
silver
a
pin, yeah.
nod to Canadiana. At what point do they come to that realization that this is the life?
Well, I think Charles said it was when he was about 8 or 9. I think the Queen said it was when she saw her crest on milk bottles or something. She suddenly realised.
Yeah, suddenly realised this is real.
Oh, and Charlotte, she's growing up, so having to carry her for any length of time, I guess. I
remember William and Harry once shouting out, "Oh, look, it's the press," when they saw us approaching on some skiing holiday once, and it was a little bit hostile actually. I'm not sure they were that pleased to see us turn up, but he's smiling now. He looks a bit more relaxed, getting used to it.
Well, he's certainly getting the bulk of the camera time, and is the focus of our pool camera for sure, and really I think that's to be expected. The importance and significance of them bringing the children along with them on their first trip as a four-member family.
Well, you can hear the crowd behind us oohing and ahhing, and that's just the effect you'd expect, and that's the effect they're getting, and that's obviously what's happening. Charlotte.
They are here in Victoria now.
Hair's grown quite a lot, and I wonder how many pictures of them are going to be on the front pages tomorrow.
The photographers must just be loving this, getting to see the kids.
They love it, but there's too many of them. That's the problem.
Well, you made the point too. They're holding off. Many of the publications are to get the photos that would have just been taken. Now they'll hit the presses in the UK.
It's gone midnight in the UK, and there'll be some of these will be. And of course, online. I bet probably some of them are there already.
I'm sure.
All right, so they're in the vehicle now. They will be heading to Government House first up, heading down the Pat Bay Highway, presumably.
Yeah, and they are a little bit behind schedule, but not tremendously. They're supposed to be pulling away from there at 10 after. It's about 13 after now. And when they get to Government House, they will be greeted there officially by the Lieutenant Governor.
Another greeting,
Judith Guichon, who is there as well. She's already there, so it's another greeting. And then on to the legislature, where the crowd here will be able to see them live. But while they get into the big black vehicles and embark on the trip into Victoria, you can expect to see a huge motorcade on the Pat Bay Highway. Everybody will be requested to pull over and let the Royals pass.
So if you're wondering what that's about, it's not a movie shoot.
I think George will enjoy that. It's always fun to be in one of those motorcades and see those police outriders stopping the traffic and zooming ahead, and I think he'll probably quite enjoy that when he sees it.
There's the Duchess of Cambridge getting into the vehicle there.
Doors are closed.
Yeah, I know, but I'm staying. Do they have car seats? I'm sure they have car seats.
I'm sure that detail was taken care of, wasn't it? And also in the little picture-in-picture there, you can see the red carpet that's rolled out here, one of two at the legislature, where they will be passing through the crowd on their way to and from the stage as they get ready to address British Columbians, Canadians, and the world.
Lots of folks have been here since early this morning, I think, since it was still dark.
I walked past about 8 o'clock, and there were dozens of people already here. Walked, not jogged. No, it was incredible. Some people were here very early.
All right, 4.5 minutes behind schedule. Not too bad when you consider what's at stake here and how many people are involved. And as their motorcade makes its way into Victoria, we're going to pause for a very short break, and we'll be back with more on our special, the Royal Visit to Canada.
And I will be your masters of ceremonies tonight for the official welcoming of their Royal Highnesses, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, to Canada and British Columbia. I would like to acknowledge that this event is being held on traditional territory of the Lacunen, including the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. J'ai le plaisir et l'honneur d'être avec vous ce soir à titre de maîtresse de cérémonie pour la cérémonie d'accueil officielle au Canada, en Colombie-Britannique, de Leur Altesse Royale, le Duc et la Duchesse de Cambridge. Some of you might have noticed the absence of a Canadian flag on this brand new large flagpole on my right near the cenotaph. The previous flagpole was decommissioned in April of 2016 after 90 years of service. We will now proceed with the flag raising ceremony. The Canadian flag will be carried by cadets and will be raised by Royal Canadian Navy personnel. The Naden Band of the Royal Canadian Navy will play the national anthem as we raise our most recognized national symbol.
Saw the Royal Motorcade beginning to depart, and it is still departing because it is a large motorcade. There they are, the vehicles moving pretty slowly at the moment, but William and Kate well on their way to Victoria.
That's right, and we're seeing the Guard of Honor here back at the legislature now bring in the large Canadian flag that will be raised on that magnificent new hydraulic flagpole. We've just heard how the old one was decommissioned after 90 years, and they've got the most modern of flagpoles to raise this flag on.
Well, it's a big moment, right?
It's a big moment for the for flagpole people especially.
All right, those big crowds that we showed you as well have been waiting with bated breath to see the family who will be here very shortly. Let's head out to Sonia Diol, who's with the crowd. Sonia, when we saw the family emerge from the plane, did you feel the gasp, or did you hear the gasp from the crowd?
Absolutely, Sophie and Chris. As soon as, we were all waiting with bated breath, waiting for those doors to open. And as soon as we caught a glimpse, first it was of Prince George, and then slowly we saw the royal couple. It was a very exciting moment, wasn't it?
It was amazing. I love the royals. I think they're amazing. I saw how they got married and then their kids. And
how did you feel when they were stepping down off the plane?
I was so happy. They're in Canada. Yay!
And what about for you guys? For me, it was the children. I thought that it was incredible to see the whole family together.
Yeah, Prince George was so adorable, and it was really cool getting to see them on TV, on the screen, and I'm so happy I got to be a part of it.
Yeah, I was really happy that we were able to see it on the screen and then be able to be here as well to see them. And I was also really happy that Charlotte wasn't crying, because I know babies on flights and whatnot.
Absolutely. It's a very good point you make. Royal children or not, we know that, threes and unders can be temperamental. And these children were impeccably behaved after a 10-hour flight.
Yes, that little Charlotte is so cute.
Yes.
Yeah, she's so pretty.
What was the moment that made your heart just skip a beat?
Just seeing the kids and just to see them interacting there with everybody. It was great.
Are you feeling very excited?
Yes, I am.
How are you all feeling? Very excited? Oh yeah, it really is. So many of us have been waiting for this trip, and you can't quite believe it. But those pictures of the whole family. Little Prince George actually waving to everybody. What a wonderfully behaved little boy, clearly getting used to the press attention now as well. And that picture of the whole family is going to be all over the newspapers, all over TV screens the world over. It's an amazing moment.
It certainly was a magical moment. Thank you, Sonia.
Amazing. And here's another big moment too, with the Guard of Honor clipping the Canadian flag to the rope, and it will be raised on the flagpole here outside the legislature. And the music we heard earlier, too, was the Naden Band of the Royal Canadian Navy.
Definitely heard them at many events throughout BC over the years, and they'll be playing a little more during the official ceremony.
In fact, right now, it will be our national anthem, so we're going to pause for that performance from the Naden Navy Band. Nicely done.
You know, even the most cynical journalist can get on board with that, feeling the chills when you see the flag raised.
A little lump in the throat for sure. More great performances coming up too, as the Master of Ceremonies here talks about what's coming up. Victoria Children's Choir is also a big part of this, and we heard them rehearsing and they sound absolutely beautiful, so I look forward to those performances as we move forward.
We'll also be treated to a traditional First Nations dance by the Lekwungen traditional dancers of the Songhees Nation. So that will be, I believe, right after the Duke and Duchess pay their respects at the Cenotaph. And then as they walk down the red carpet, that will happen, the First Nations dancers.
Performances from the Songhees First Nation and the Esquimalt First Nation, obviously intimate knowledge and respect for both nations here in this part of the world, and they are a big part of the ceremony here today. You see the lights on the building, the legislature building. It looks beautiful at night, but they've kept them on for today's festivities and to welcome the royals as well.
And Phil, just talking about the fact that we do have the First Nations dancers here, and there are several First Nations components built into this trip for William and Kate. Talk about the significance of that. Is that something dear to William?
Yeah, I think there always are, and obviously the First Nation people live in a lot of the places that they're going to, and I think particularly Bella Bella with the great bare rainforest, and of course William, one of his main hobby horses at the moment is conservation, and so he's really looking forward to going to some of these remote parts of the province. There's always they always tend to go to see First Nation people or Aborigines in Australia or Maoris in New Zealand, and it's fantastic to see the colour that they bring to a royal tour.
Well, it's neat to see.
Interesting to see if he speaks any French, William. I think see how that's coming along, because the Queen speaks fluent French, and Prince Philip, of course, speaks fluent French, so it'll be interesting to see how his French is coming along. He gets a little bit self-conscious when he's doing it, but I'm sure we're going to hear a smattering of it throughout this trip.
But he tries it here and there, does he?
I won't be surprised to hear that too when he takes the podium right here at the legislature.
So they, of course, left the airport about 10 minutes ago or so?
Yeah, about that.
And they will be heading here to the legislature for the big welcoming ceremony. Lots of folks here, very excited to see them. There is still a little bit of room on the lawn of the legislature here, so if you haven't come down, you can still find a spot here. Not right up front, but you'll still be able to see them.
That's right, and we're quite certain that, and you can't see it from where we're sitting, but about over there, and if you're familiar with the lawn of the legislature, you know there's a ceremonial totem pole, and we're told that once they finish up at the stage, they're going to be walking down the red carpet towards the totem pole. So a lot of the people that are just over our right shoulders here are going to get a really good glimpse, because they're not going to be constrained by time as much. Once all the festivities here and the official events are over, they can walk at their own pace down that red carpet.
So this was the big moment, of course, when the royal family emerged from the plane after their flight, being greeted by the Governor General, Prime Minister and his wife, the Premier and
lovely
her son.
shock of hair there, hasn't he, George, which is making up. I've been very, very cruel and making up for Prince William, who I'm afraid at 34 has inherited the family trait there, hasn't he? He really is. He's now taken to having his hair cut extremely short to try and sort of hide the fact that he is going bald. And of course, he's following in his father's got a bit of a bald patch, and of course his grandfather. So it's I think he's going to keep that hairstyle for some time. It's a bit unfair to mention it, but people do notice
She's mentioned it before, though. She has.
Well, they often say that God only made so many perfect heads and the rest he covered with hair. So maybe that's...
As long as they don't start wearing wigs, I don't want to see a royal in a wig.
No. Well, they used to do that centuries ago, didn't they? So
not today.
Not much anymore.
All right, this is the scene outside Government House right now. Lots of folks lining up to catch a glimpse, as well as the royals will be heading to Government House before they come to the legislature, just to drop off the kids, be greeted again by the Lieutenant Governor. They will be basing themselves out of Government House for the duration of their trip as well. They'll spend the night in a couple of other towns, but their home base is Government House.
And I think they're still, based on when they left the airport at about 14 minutes after, they gave themselves half an hour to get to Government House.
They won't be in traffic. They'll have their own traffic.
They will. Yeah, it'd be the fastest run in from the airport ever for sure. But a lot of people there waiting at Government House as well. Again, they make their stop there, drop the kids, and then they will be here.
And Prince William will be speaking, addressing the crowd. Any idea, just quickly, Phil, of what he might say, or do they keep it pretty generic?
I think it'll be fairly simple. He'll probably convey the Queen's best wishes. She would love to come here again. She's been here 23, 25 times, something like that. The Queen Mother came here many times and of course was deeply loved by the Canadian people and in turn loved Canada. And I think Prince Philip's been to Canada 75 times, would you believe?
Wow.
75 times, sort of once every year of his life. So he'll convey her wishes, and that'll probably be the main theme of it. But he'll just say how glad he is to be here and to be somewhere he's not been before.
Well, we look forward to hearing that. We're glad that you're with us to share the
Thanks,
coverage. We'll take a quick break, hand things over to Donna Friesen on the national desk, and then we'll be back right after that. Thanks for watching.
Field Regiment, Royal Canadian Artillery. An inspection of the Guard of Honor, composed of sailors from the Royal Canadian Navy by His Royal Highness, escorted by the Canadian Equerry, and, finally, a second Royal Salute performed by the Naden Band of the Royal Canadian Navy. We ask that you refrain from singing during the musical salutes. You will have another opportunity to sing O Canada later on in the ceremony. Nous vous demandons de vous abstenir de chanter pendant les saluts royaux. Vous aurez l'occasion de chanter au Canada un peu plus tard au cours de la cérémonie. The second part of the program will include remarks from the Governor General of Canada, the Prime Minister of Canada, the Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, the Premier of British Columbia, and finally, His Royal Highness. It will also feature performances by the Victoria Children's Choir, including the singing of the national anthem, accompanied by the Naden Band of the Royal Canadian Navy. Following the national anthem, their Royal Highnesses will sign the Government of Canada Golden Book and the Government of British Columbia Distinguished Visitors Book. Her Royal Highness will then receive a bouquet of flowers from a 14-year-old. Her name is Victoria Foster, whose greatest wish to meet the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge is made possible by the Children's Wish Foundation of Canada. Son Altesse Royale recevra alors un bouquet de fleurs de Victoria Foster. Victoria Foster, c'est une jeune fille de 14 ans dont le souhait le plus cher était de rencontrer le duc et la duchesse de Cambridge. Son rêve est exaucé grâce à la fondation Rêve d'enfant. We ask another thing of you. that you please remain in your places until the departure of their Royal Highnesses, the official party, and the honor guard. Thank you. À la fin de la cérémonie, nous vous demandons de garder votre place jusqu'au départ de leurs Altesses royales de ce côté, également du cortège et de la garde d'honneur. The entire welcome ceremony is expected to last approximately 45 minutes.
We're gonna come back. I'm trying to get it.
Watching on Global Okanagan. Nice to have you.
Now, would you believe it? We think they're actually maybe ahead of schedule now. This is a live shot here at the legislature where the Royal Motorcade is just pulling up. That's the Guard of Honor, the Royal Maiden Band as well, and of course tens of thousands of people anxiously awaiting a glimpse of the royal family here for the official welcoming in front of the legislature. So the family touched down at 443 Squadron near Victoria Airport just about an hour ago, and they then departed for Government House, where they dropped off the children, and it looks like they may actually be here already, which would put them a little bit ahead of schedule, I believe.
Could also be the Prime Minister arriving just in front of the Royals. That's the Maiden Band in the foreground. You see there the crowd that's jammed onto the lawn here and on all of the streets surrounding the legislature, enthusiastic and eager to catch a glimpse. Now, that is a live shot of Government House right now, which is, of course, the residence of the Lieutenant Governor of BC, and it's where the Royals will be staying over the next, basically home base for them over a week or so. So, Phil, maybe I'll bring you in a little bit here to talk about the preparations that go into making sure that everything is as it should be for the Royals when they are staying abroad. It's obvious that the memo would have gone to Government House several weeks ago to make sure that everything is as it should be there.
Well, looking at that, I mean, that's the nice sort of family aspect of this, isn't it? I'm sure that Mum and Dad will be reassuring Charlotte and George and possibly putting Charlotte to bed, I would think. I don't know, I suppose, at that age. And telling George they're going to see him later on and reassuring him. And that's the main reason that they brought the kids, apart from wanting to show them to Canadian people. They just don't like being apart from the children for very long. So they'll be saying goodbye to them, see him later on, and then they'll be heading down here. And it's going to be quite a poignant moment. Of course, it's always the first job that on any royal tour is to pay tribute at the War Memorial of any country or province. And of course, in terms of Prince William being an ex-serviceman himself, and of course Prince Harry serving in Afghanistan, there's a special connection there.
There is, and in fact, they're going to be at the cenotaph in just a few moments when they roll up to the legislature here, and there will be a plaque commemorating some of the war dead and those who were lost in the war in Afghanistan. They'll lay a wreath there, and presumably almost immediately make their way up that red carpet. We mentioned earlier that there are two of them that kind of triangulate towards the stage, and they'll be making an address. Several dignitaries there, including the Prime Minister, the Governor General, the Premier, Christy Clark, the Lieutenant Governor, and then finally, I think Prince William is planning to address the crowd.
Look at all the girls with their tiaras on. Oh, the little ones and the older ones too.
Right.
Yeah, definitely a lot of wannabe princesses here. I mean,
haven't seen any lookalikes yet.
No,
so
not yet.
But normally get a few doubles, you know. And
yeah, the story.
People trying to look like Kate.
Kate finding her prince, of course, a very popular one. Again, a shot of the gates at Government House where the crowds, as you see, are lined up there as well. And the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge will be heading out those gates and here to the legislature very shortly, we believe. They're scheduled to leave, or they were scheduled to leave Government House at 5. It was a few minutes behind schedule at 443 Squadron.
Phil, does that gate remind you of Buckingham Palace? I mean, the black and the gold. It's maybe not quite as ornate, but it's as close as we have.
It looks a little bit more like the Queen Mother's Gate in Hyde Park, the special memorial gate, actually. But it slightly reminds me of Balmoral, actually, particularly with the trees there. Wow. So yeah, they'll be feeling at home. But they've stayed in these places before, and yeah, I'm sure they'll settle in, and that's going to be their home from home for the next week.
Well, certainly they are used to rather ornate settings and the luxury of being the royal family. It was interesting to see how the British press portrayed where they will be staying in some of the, let's be honest, more remote areas in British Columbia, and some of those are going to be.
I believe they're staying in the Yukon in a what, $150 hotel, which hasn't got the greatest reputation on TripAdvisor, apparently. But I'm not going to say.
Future kings don't always go through that.
No, but I'm sure they'll enjoy that night. That's the one night they're going to be away from the children.
But will they write a TripAdvisor review? Is the big question.
I very much doubt that. Apparently, they're having the room with a jacuzzi in it, so they should.
Oh, they get the special room.
But they had a nice romantic time away on their last trip in 2011, when they actually got into a bit of trouble with a canoe. Apparently, and this has only been emerging over the last few months that they actually went out on a canoe, and for the short distance over to this remote island and nearly capsized it. So that could have been a disaster, but fortunately they managed to get back.
They do seem game to go to very remote places, try some, fun things.
Absolutely. I think they're going to be doing some fishing. They're going to be looking at some mountain biking. I was rather hoping they would be doing some mountain biking themselves, but I'm not sure from the briefing we had the other day that they're actually going to do it. They're going to be watching other people doing that. But yeah, it's a really diverse program. As I say, 32 engagements. And I think they're going to enjoy every day.
I think
every day is packed except one when they had the children's party with the servicemen's families, and then the rest of the day is going to be a rest day when they can spend some quality time with the children.
The first trip for the whole family overseas, is it significant that they chose Canada for that, an easier place maybe to travel with young children as well?
Yeah, I think so, possibly. I mean, as I say, the whole family has always been very, very fond of Canada, and they know what a warm reception they get here and what a relaxed atmosphere it is. So that's probably the main reason they're just delighted to be back.
They're just getting a shot at some of the dignitaries. There's Elizabeth May, Green Party leader coming in, the Speaker of the House, Linda Reid, John Horgan, leader of the opposition, Victoria's mayor, and First Nations leaders and elders as well. The clerk of the legislature going past. So it really is a very, very distinguished group, of course, as you would expect, that will be here to greet the royals when they arrive.
Interesting to see how they make the guest list. How do you get on that list?
Yeah, the Foreign Office would have been in negotiations with the Canadian government and with the BC government over this for many, many months, obviously. And as you say, there's quite a pecking order there, isn't there?
Yes.
It could easily offend a few people if you're not careful, couldn't you?
I'm certain. Let's see who's in the back row, and we'll see what their royal standing is.
See what their faces look like.
It's been a pretty nice afternoon here in Victoria. The sun was shining a little bit earlier. It has clouded over a little bit. A few sprinkles here and there, but it seems to be, hopefully the rain will hold off for this portion of the day, the most important portion of the day, of course. There's the Victoria Children's Choir as well. Chris mentioned earlier that we heard them yesterday during the rehearsals for this, and they sound wonderful, so we'll be hearing from them a little bit later.
There will be a somber start to the formalities here when the event at the Cenotaph begins, and it's going to be very evocative and remind you of the things that we see and do on Remembrance Day here.
That's right, and of course Prince Harry has really thrown his heart and soul into this Invictus Games, which of course is for disabled servicemen, and next year that's going to be in Toronto. And so that will obviously be something they'll be discussing. And as I say, it's always good that when they come on these trips, and the first thing they ever do is to pay tribute to the fallen and the wounded of the host country. And I think it's much better coming from someone like William, who's been a serviceman himself. Makes a big difference.
It does, right?
Especially when they're talking to servicemen.
Is it possible we would see Prince Harry then in Toronto at the Invictus Games?
Oh, definitely, yeah. You won't be able to keep him away. If there's a trip, he'll be there. He's really made that his absolute hobby horse, and it was tremendous success in London and in Florida. And as I say, the next one's going to be in Toronto, and it should be fantastic.
Look at the crowds.
Well, we hope you're enjoying the shots. It's not often we get a jib cam on a broadcast like this. It's always an impressive shot, and the enthusiasm is obvious.
Sat down and had a tea there, and they're getting a bit relaxed and think to themselves, "Oh, a bit jet lagged. We don't want to go."
That's right.
They're
just staying at Government House.
Yeah. So
there's a few vets there.
Veterans there as well. Keith Baldry was chatting with us earlier about the crowd here, the size of the crowd, and Keith estimates that this crowd is bigger than it was in 2002 for the visit of Prince William's grandmother, of course, Queen Elizabeth. I was here for that as well, and I think I would agree with Keith. There's, of course, the lawn of the legislature that's full of people, but also the street out in front, and the intersection is full of people, just out in front of the Empress Hotel as well. So the inner harbor of Victoria packed with fans.
Yeah, they were estimating, 20 to 30,000, and I think it's obvious that that's likely how many are here. And you see the Toyota minivan that's exactly like the one they got into at the airport, now preparing to leave Government House and make its way over here to the legislature.
Is it leaving or is it going in? It's going in, I think.
Oh, that is not the car. Sorry, it's going in. I'm on the wrong side of the gate.
But those are royal watchers who've been lined up there outside Government House. You know, Government House is in a neighborhood called Rockland here in Victoria, and there are people who live on either side of Government House and around it. It's a residential neighborhood, so I know that some people are excited about having Kate and William and the kids as their neighbors for the next week. It's definitely going to, you know, add cred to the neighborhood.
To the neighborhood for sure. It's on a property that's about 30 acres, just over 30 acres. So there is room to roam, and of course we remember some of those iconic images of Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip when they were here and going for a leisurely stroll on the grounds, captured by a resourceful cameraman that worked for Global BC at that time, BC TV.
A couple of years ago in Australia, when they stayed in Canberra, we were told to sort of leave them alone during their leisure time, press, you know, make sure we stayed away. And then some enterprising young local paparazzi, for want of a better word, took us a nice video of William and Kate in the gardens, including Kate doing a sort of skip, a hop, skip and a jump. That went around the world. And in fact, they were quite relaxed about that. They didn't seem to mind too much. So, but if it had been one of us dreadful British press, we probably would have been in deep trouble for that.
How dare you?
Good to know. You would get scolded for it.
Oh yes, we would have been in trouble. But as it was local, they got away with it, I think. But it's nice to see. It's nice to see that, you know, occasionally to see them when they're very relaxed, you know, and see these off the cuff pictures and films.
Candid moments.
Yeah, it was almost exactly 1 hour ago when they first arrived out at 443 Squadron out near the Victoria Airport. We'll take you back to that moment where the door opened and out stepped beautiful Catherine, handsome Will, and the two beautiful children, Prince George and Princess Charlotte.
Someone in the crowd here at the legislature has a sign that says George and Charlotte are adorable, and that is an accurate assessment.
I can get behind that poster for sure. Any comments, Phil, about what she's wearing? It was a surprise not to see red.
It was a surprise to me. I thought she would wear red. I'm sure we'll see a lot of red on this trip, but I did think first impressions count for a lot. When the Queen went to Ireland a few years ago and wore green, that really wowed them the moment she stepped out there. And so I thought she'd do the same, but maybe she obviously wore red when she arrived in 2011, so perhaps she didn't think it was necessary. But they're certainly very well coordinated. They're in blue, as you say, the royal blue. George has got the right colour jumper on, and they look great. But and as always, those clothes will sell out within hours all around the world. The people start ordering them the moment they see them, and see a new outfit that Kate wears. It's absolutely astonishing. There are various bloggers and experts out there who identify the clothes within minutes, and then they just sell out. It's absolutely extraordinary, the power that she has, and many fashion designers now are just queuing up to give them stuff so that they can make a fortune, to be honest.
Yeah,
lots of websites dedicated to that. I think there's even one that's based here in BC over in Vancouver as well. So
what Kate wore, I believe.
What would Kate do? Yeah. All right, so the crowd's very excited for the arrival, which should be fairly shortly. They've been here since early this morning. Our Sonia Diol has been with them all morning, all afternoon as well. Sonia, how's it going out there?
It's going fantastically, and I will tell you, unofficially, we're hearing from some of the police here that the estimated numbers are 25,000 people here in Victoria. So quite a turnout. I can't wait to see the official figures. And these are some of the members of the crowd. We're at the spot, actually, Sophie and Chris, where the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, after all that ceremonial duties that they're going to be doing outside the steps of the legislature, and after Prince William has spoken and they've gone inside, they're going to come down. This is where they're going to be exiting the ledge grounds. And you guys are in the perfect spot, and you've got the flowers too.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm very excited.
You got prime position. Where are you from?
I'm from Victoria.
Okay. And what was the big draw? Is it Will? Is it Kate? What was
Justin Trudeau.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. You know what? In all the hours we've been broadcasting from, it's the first time I've heard that actually this person here has turned out for Justin Trudeau, not the Royals. And what about you?
I'm with them.
All right. So you a big fan of the Trudeaus as well? Wow, that is amazing. It is going to be fantastic to see all four together. What a photo that the world will see of two power couples.
Well, just like Prince William and Kate, and just excited. We've come a long way to see them.
Now, you sound like somebody from Coronation Street, but you do live here.
No, we live in England.
Oh, right.
We're just visiting.
You're just visiting. So what's that like? You're seeing the royal family from England here in Victoria.
I know, it's really exciting.
Who's your favourite royal?
William.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here, you know, I mean, it's been a really long day. Most people have been camped out and been here at the grounds since like 4 or 5 this morning. Around lunchtime, the crowd started swelling up and it got busier. The weather hasn't always played its part, I have to say. It started off like a little bit damp and grey, and then it got sunny in the middle, and now it's like spitting again. And we're really hoping that, you know, the rain just holds off for the next at least hour. Because we've got to just get through this. It's going to be a very short ceremony, as you know. They're only here for about an hour, but of a lot of anticipation, Chris and Sophie. Everyone here is like, you're excited, right? Yeah. It's a lot of waiting in the cold, but it will be worth it once they get here.
The crowd won't notice it once they get here at all. Sonia, thank you. We'll check back with you in a little bit. You see lots of folks with flowers, as Sonia was mentioning, and of course, one little girl will have the very special honor of presenting flowers to the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Her name is Victoria Foster, which is very appropriate. She's not from Victoria, though. She's from Ottawa, and she's always wanted to meet the royals. So this is her dream come true, which was provided by the Children's Wish Foundation.
She struggled with health issues, and this was, her dream, and it's fascinating and lovely to see that they found a way to make it happen, and she will live out that dream today. If you're keeping an eye on the clock, the royal couple was supposed to be here officially, based on the official itinerary, at 5 o'clock. They're running now almost 17 minutes late, and we haven't seen them leave Government House to make their way over here yet. So it may be up to half an hour late by the time they do get here to begin the formalities.
Phil, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but what do they do with all of the flowers?
What do they do with them? Well, they normally give them to, if they get a lot of them, they quite often give them to local hospitals.
Oh, okay.
And so they're never wasted.
Okay, because there are lots here. All right, I understand that the motorcade may be leaving Government House now, putting on a little show for, it was just announced that the couple will be 5 minutes away from the legislature. Government House not far from the BC legislature, only about a 5 to 7 minute drive, so.
Just catching a glimpse here on the big monitor. You hear a little giggle in the crowd. 2 young women, 2 young girls saw their faces on the giant monitor here and responded with glee, and the crowd responded to that. And what a response we saw when the royal stepped off the plane. I mean, there was that moment of anticipation. It seemed like the cameras were on the door for 10 minutes, stretched on forever. And then when they finally did step out, it really was this warm welcome and applause and outpouring, I think, of emotion seeing the royals.
It was, indeed. It was quite windy there, and I was worried for Kate, but fortunately the skirt that she had on was fairly sort of figure-hugging, so there was no problem there, and she was able to hold Charlotte as she came down those steps, and it looks like they're just now a couple of minutes away, the blue flashing lights, and they'll be here any moment.
They were in a Toyota minivan when they left, a black Toyota minivan when they left the airport. And we did see one just go back into the gates moments before the motorcade left.
But I think they're in a different vehicle now.
Didn't see the same one come out of there.
No, I think we saw the royal flag on a different car coming in. So they should be here very shortly. They will begin the official welcome by being greeted by the Prime Minister and his wife, and then they will be paying their respects at the Cenotaph here in Victoria. There you hear the crowd getting excited, the Governor General and his wife. That's the signal that Kate and William are almost here.
There you see the Premier as well in her red dress, custom made by a local BC designer. She definitely brought her fashion A game, knowing I think that she was going to be photographed for all time with 2 fashion icons as well.
A lot of the papers back in the UK are trying to build up this Sophie Trudeau against Kate fashion war, and trying to say they're going to be outdoing each other. I'm sure they won't, but whether they'll actually phone each other up the day before and make sure they're not wearing the same outfit or not, I don't know. But I'm sure we'll see some fairly spectacular ones.
So this is Governor General David Johnston now. Formalities begin here on site. And I believe that is the Prince's standard, the Prince's flag?
I have to be honest, I couldn't quite see it. Chris, your magical flagpole wasn't working that well.
That's right. I know that they had planned to raise it.
The medley of anthems.
They haven't yet invented the flagpole that where the flag stays out without any wind, have they? That's the next stage in the development.
We've got hydraulics now.
Now we need the unfurling of the flag.
The Governor General and his wife making their way down to greet the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. The
Hope
Prime
that
Minister
being
and his
slightly
wife.
late isn't going to mean that they cut back on the walkabout, because they have said that they want to meet as many normal Canadians, members of the public as possible, thousands in the trip. So obviously, once the formalities are over, hopefully they'll have a bit of a walkabout and meet quite a few people. So it's a shame if it cuts into that.
The Governor General and his wife making their way down one of those beautiful red carpet paths towards the cenotaph, where the royals will lay a wreath. Right behind them, Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister, and his wife Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, wearing a maroon hat, purple dress.
Matching dress. It's quite similar to what Kate's wearing. So I'm sure they didn't call each other up, but they do complement each other well.
They did. If it was accidental, it certainly worked out well. Right behind the Prime Minister, of course, the Lieutenant Governor of BC, Judith Guichon,
who will be hosting Kate and William and the kids as well at Government House.
That's right.
He looks young, doesn't he?
He does look young, yeah, from a man who's been covering royals. But you're right.
He's making me feel old.
Yeah.
I say you're getting old when the police look old, and when your prime ministers and your leaders do, then you are in trouble.
That's right.
So there you can see the crowd there just out in front of the Empress and the barricades. That intersection of that block is very full of people right now.
So again, what they're doing is they are preparing for when the motorcade containing the royals rolls up. They will greet them as they exit the vehicle, and then they will make their way to the cenotaph, where the first official event will take place, and that's the laying of the wreath.
This next generation of leaders, you were talking, Phil, about how Kate and William want to meet as many Canadians as possible. Just looking at Justin Trudeau and his wife and how they are very engaging with the crowd. It's that maybe that next generation who want to make sure that they keep engaged with.
I'm sure that's the case, but when you actually look at the old films of the Queen when she first came to Canada, and indeed some of her other tours, the crowds were absolutely incredible. I mean, you know, extraordinary. I think when she first went to Australia, I think virtually the entire population saw her during one 6-month visit or 6-week visit, and you know, it's all happened in the past, but it's all part of William and Kate's training to start to meet political leaders and prepare for the role of king, which eventually is going to become, whether or not Canada keeps the monarchy, he's got to prepare for it, certainly at home in the UK. And his mother, of course, his grandmother, of course, the Queen, is so pivotal to the Commonwealth that slowly but surely he's got to start taking over some of these duties along with Prince Charles and start to get to know the ins and outs of the Commonwealth and other institutions as part of preparation for the job. He's put it off for quite a long time. He's managed to strike a balance between having a family life, having his job as an air ambulance pilot, but slowly he's having to take on more and more of these responsibilities.
Well, they're obviously very engaged with the crowd. Just some of the shots there of the Prime Minister and Sophie waving to everybody who has been out there and standing, many of them for several hours now, to catch a glimpse. You see the beautiful Empress Hotel in the background there. There's
our Premier and her son. Trips like this, Phil, do often raise questions about the role of the monarchy, but as you
Tell that young man to take his hands out of his pockets, whoever he is.
you called Prince George
called him out on it.
the Republican slayer. So it's trips like these, while they raise the controversy or the question of the role of the monarchy, I can't help but think that they also improve the perception of the monarchy.
Yeah, well, that's certainly the hope. As I say, when they went to Australia a couple of years ago, and they think that George helped take in the polls the Republican movement down to a new low. So obviously they're hoping that will help here. I missed that announcement. Sounds like there's been another delay, isn't it?
I think so. Well, I know they're not stopping at red lights on the way over here, so...
They looked a little bit slightly taken aback by that announcement. I didn't quite hear it, did you?
I didn't catch it. 2 minutes away.
2 minutes
so
away.
It's not,
We definitely hear helicopters
it's
circling
not.
over.
It's spitting with rain, isn't it? It's not. The rain's kept off, so it's. Slightly chilly.
Apparently, just learning that they arrested a guy with bear spray near the East Annex here.
Of the legislature. It's believed he was making his way to the stage area, so that may be part of the delay. A lot of security here, obviously, but
yeah, that could be the reason for it. They could be making double checks, you know, if they have had a security alert, and unfortunately some rogue individual has been arrested. Obviously, they'll then have to sort of relook at the security and make sure there's nobody else about, and that could be part of the reason for the delay. And obviously, in this day and age, with the current problems we have, they have to be extra careful. The whole area, of course, will have been searched properly, but it just goes to show you that it's just a constant worry.
Indeed, and let's hope that's the worst of it.
I mean, it's a very public place. Tourists come here all the time. The lawn is always open to people.
A really difficult balancing act with the royals, you know, to keep them safe. I mean, the Queen has often said that she doesn't want to live in a fortress. They could probably make Buckingham Palace a lot more difficult to break into. We still seem to have, unfortunately, on a regular basis, people trying to scale the walls for one reason or another. And she just doesn't want to live in a sort of environment where she feels like she's in prison. And similarly, when they're out and about, you know, they feel if they're not seen and they're not meeting people, they're not doing their job. So it is a very difficult balancing act, but it must be a nightmare for the security people.
Well, I did witness, you know, a little bit earlier, a couple hours ago, right when the security perimeter was starting to shrink here, and really just including the legislative grounds, I watched a number of ERT officers shoulder to shoulder, side by side, walking in a line right next to the legislature building and making sure that every square inch they passed over was examined, observed. They checked the nuts and bolts and flaps on every little lighting standard that they passed and made sure that there was nothing amiss.
They travel with their own security team.
Yes, they have their own security team as well. Yeah, they always do. I mean, they're basically at home. They have a team of 4 officers who are always with them. Particularly George, of course, when he's out and about in Norfolk, where they live. If he goes to the beach with, say, his granny, with Carol Middleton, obviously you've got to have them taking him to his nursery, you know, and there's always got to be police there.
There was a moment, I think it was during one of Prince Charles's visits to Victoria, actually, in the 70s, I think it was, where he was meeting and greeting the crowd, and a woman kissed him.
Yeah, oh yes.
I don't know
occasion when in New Zealand, when there were some Maoris, I think they were staging a protest about something, and they chucked some eggs at the royal car, and it splattered all over the windscreen, and Prince Philip got out the car and wiped it off with his handkerchief. Much to the Queen's amusement, so and then just carried on. So that was fairly typical of him.
Yeah.
If you're just joining us or wondering what the delay is, they were supposed to be here at the legislature about half an hour ago. We did learn just within the last couple of minutes that there was an arrest of a person who apparently had bear spray on them in the East Annex here at the legislative building. So troubling, obviously, but also good to know that they made that arrest and they neutralized the threat. And
I assume bear spray is to ward off bears, is it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of that in London.
You do not want to get it in your eyes.
No.
So there may have been somebody with ill intentions there, but it seems like that threat has been neutralized. But I'm certain what they would have had to do, and Phil, you back this up, just do a security sweep to make sure that it's all good before finally releasing them and allowing them to come, right?
Here, the rev of the motorbikes means they're on there. They're pretty much here. The outriders are always the first sign.
We can hear and see the motorbikes circling the legislature right now. They're coming down the side streets, down in front on Belleville, and up the other side.
Is quite a show, just to see the motorcade coming in.
You even see some people on the boats out in the harbor there trying to get a glimpse of what's happening here on the grounds.
So we did see in some of the crowd footage there's some Victoria police officers just making their way through the crowds, and they are like right in there with the people.
They've got sniffer dogs, haven't they? And I'm sure there are probably you know, marksmen on roofs and the helicopter overhead, of course. So every possible precaution is being taken, but you just cannot totally 100% seal people in a vacuum. And
Hamish has his hands out of his pockets now. You'll be impressed.
He's obviously been told to stand him behind his back, shoulders back. And I think that's what we like to see. I love his bow tie. He looks very smart, doesn't he?
Very smart.
Yeah. Oh.
Selfies are supposed to have been banned, aren't they? They've been told people they don't want too many selfies, and so that they can actually talk to people. But I'm sure
people sometimes does
he does occasionally, yeah, but he sometimes tells people he's been told to stop doing it, apparently. But it wastes time, is the theory, and they'd rather be talking to people and moving on to the next person. If they stop for every selfie, they'd never do anything else.
Does he actually do his own? Does he do social media on his own?
I think he'd like to. There are rumours that he started his own Twitter account so he could follow the press, but he didn't do it under his own name, you know. So I think he had to shut that down.
That was a big moment when the Queen got a Twitter account and Buckingham Palace
she's sent a couple of tweets, and she has got a mobile phone which she uses occasionally. Prince Andrew gave her that, but
really?
You don't see her with it very often. But she likes to joke with people when sometimes she's talking to people and their mobile phones go off, and she says to them, "You better take that. It could be somebody important."
She's got a good sense of humour.
She certainly has. They look a bit cold, don't they?
I'm just thinking that it's a little chilly.
Standing around, they're starting to rub their hands.
And this was not in the agenda that they would be standing out there on the street corner for 15 minutes awaiting the arrival of the royal couple. But we understand that they are coming down the street and will be here in mere
There are the motorcycles. And there. Yeah, I think. Oh, we can see the royal vehicle.
Yes, we can.
And here it comes.
The royal motorcade just about 100 yards away from greeting those dignitaries.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And you see how vigilant those security officers are right there. The police officers right in front, keeping an eye on the crowd. Ever watchful, carefully, and there's the prince. And Catherine.
Being greeted by the Governor General and his wife. And I've just been told that the Duchess of Cambridge is wearing a dress by Jenny Packham.
That's one of her favourites.
Okay.
Yeah, so she started off with a British designer, and I'm sure she's going to wear quite a few outfits by Canadian designers as well during the trip. And 50 or 60 outfits to get through, so...
She's got some to choose from. Her hat is apparently by Lock & Co.
Yeah.
And she's wearing a Queen's maple leaf brooch.
She's looking very, very, you know, I have to say there have been a few worries recently. She's getting a little bit too thin, and there have been some concerns expressed. Obviously, the last thing on earth we want is a repeat of the problems that Princess Diana had with her eating disorders. I don't think for one moment that Kate has, but I think there are some people who would like her to put on a little bit of weight, but she's, you know, she does work out and she keeps extremely fit and she looks fantastic, but I wouldn't like her to see it lose any more.
No. That's good.
What do you think, Sophie?
I don't think she should either.
No,
I agree with you.
Anymore. I certainly wouldn't believe any of the stories in some of the supermarket tabloids. Anyway,
so there will be a moment of silence here as the bugle plays. We'll honor that at this moment. And there we see the laying of the wreath, paying their respects, and a new plaque will be affixed to the cenotaph to recognize the Afghanistan war effort. And very slowly they'll make their way back. I guess not back, they haven't been up to the stage yet, but that's where they're heading very quickly. A couple of performances by First Nations dancers as they go.
And now onto the red carpet.
Mm-hmm.
And greeting the crowds. And this is one of those, Phil, I would think, not scripted moments that not necessarily
I have to
scripted.
say, looking at those pictures, that the security does look very, very tight there. I don't know whether they've suddenly stepped it up in the last 20 minutes as a result of this scare, but they are very, very close, some of those officers there, and I think they're slightly worried at the moment. They wouldn't normally be standing that close to them, and it's quite significant, I think.
They'd try to blend in a little bit normally, wouldn't they?
Well, they just wouldn't be so close, and there wouldn't be so many of them, you know. But anyway, that's the way it is. I mean, if they feel it's necessary, obviously, it's better to be safe than sorry. And but these are always nice moments when they meet servicemen. Wonderful to see the medals there. And Prince Philip would normally be pointing at a few and saying, you know, I was there or something, or what have you. But
I feel like she's dying to turn her head and see this exchange happen.
Yeah, she's standing very erect there and waiting her turn and
chatting with the Governor General.
Prince William generous.
Yeah,
generous with his time.
And Catherine right
if
next to him.
If somebody's got a really interesting story to tell, they will spend extra time, and they quite often get involved in conversations, and it's one of the biggest problems really for their staff, moving them on, you know, because so many people want to meet them, and they do actually genuinely like meeting people and talking to people, and sometimes they, you know, someone will be looking at their watches and trying to get them to hurry along, otherwise the whole thing's already late. So
is it the same with the Queen as well? Does she like the
well, she's a past master. She knows, you know, so she's pretty good at her timings, and of course she does have that wonderful asset, her handbag, which she has over her left arm, and when she's ready to move on, she has little semaphores with the bag, and that tells the staff when she's ready to leave. You know, 5 minutes to go, she'll put the bag in a certain position, and there you go. So Kate could learn from that. She's just got a small clutch bag there, so it's not much good.
Not much you can do with that.
No, there's not a lot you can do with that, is there?
Looking at the smile on her face as she got to meet Prince William.
I don't know, all the faces of people who are getting a chance to see the royals in the flesh. So much of what we see of them is on television or online, and to actually see them here is really quite special for a lot of people. Of course, we've only seen them on a monitor too, because we can't turn around while the cameras are on us. I suppose they're not on right now. Let's see if I can. Oh, my eyesight is too bad. I couldn't see them anyway.
Well, we'll probably see them after all of the ceremony, when they do the walk down our side of the red carpet.
That was a nice touch there. William could sense that if she didn't look where she was going, she could have gone up that step, so he just gave her a little tap there to make sure she didn't go flat on her face there.
Oh, look at all of those cameras.
That's what I mean about the modern day walkabout. It's there's no applause because everyone's got their cameras up.
My goodness.
Can you imagine having thousands of those pointing at you all the time?
And social media will be going crazy right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
It'll be hard to get a cell signal if you're anywhere in the vicinity of the legislature. Here's the traditional dance by the Lekwungen traditional dancers of the Songhees First Nation.
The Esquimalt First Nation also well represented here. There will be a couple of performances, both about a minute each, before David Johnston, the Governor General, and the Royals and the Governor General's wife Sharon make their way up to the stage, where he will present all of the dignitaries that we saw walk in about half an hour ago. Actually, it's closer to 40 minutes ago now. And you see, at this point, they're making their way directly up without interacting or reaching out or shaking hands with anybody who is against the fence at this point. But we understand there may be that opportunity on the way out when they go back down
sure
the other path.
Yeah, Kate's waving away there, looking quite a few people. Obviously, she's talking to the Governor General's wife there. But yeah, there's a bit of interaction, but they're mainly being polite to them. And as you say, later on, I think she's saying hello. They just spotted a baby in arms there, so
we were chatting with a woman who'd been here since this morning, and she said she brought her 4-year-old daughter, I think it was, to use as she called it, Duchess bait. A cute little girl to bring the Duchess over.
That was a great line. Minister of Canadian Heritage, Member of Parliament for Ahuntsic-Cartierville, the Honourable Mélanie Joly, Chief Justice of British Columbia, the Honourable Robert Bauman, all of the folks lined up there, including Elizabeth May, leader of the Green Party there, will get their chance to shake hands and say some kind words to the Prince and Catherine.
A long list of dignitaries on hand to greet the royal couple. See, the Speaker of the Legislature, Linda Reid, is there as well. John Horgan, NDP leader.
And right here, someone I'm sure the Prince will have a lot to talk about. That's the Commander of Maritime Forces Pacific and Joint Task Force Pacific, Rear Admiral Art MacDonald.
Yeah, William always says that it's one of his great regrets when he was in the armed forces that he didn't actually see any action or couldn't go to the front line. They just wouldn't let him go because it was considered to be unsafe. But of course, Harry went twice to Afghanistan, did 2 stints there. Once, of course, unfortunately, had to come back early when it was revealed he was there. But I'm sure that a bit like Prince Charles, it's a bit of a regret for William that he wasn't able to sort of see some frontline action. But always fascinating to have chats with other servicemen.
RCMP Commissioner Bob Paulson there, now chatting with the Prince. And I'm sure they've been instructed to keep it short too, and not go on too long, especially considering...
run very behind schedule, this couldn't
Yeah, they are running very behind schedule.
Yeah.
But everyone's been waiting very patiently. There's the Monarchist League of Canada, the Victoria chapter, just behind the crowd of dignitaries there.
Time for a lip reader.
He definitely looks interested in chatting with everyone.
I think he might be telling them why they're late, perhaps. I don't know. He could be explaining what's happened, you know.
He's meeting Carol James and John Horgan now. Oh, and Linda Reid.
Plenty of monarchist supporters in the background there with the flag, and
clearly, yes, well represented here.
Seen any protesters yet?
Not so far.
Except the guy with bear spray maybe earlier. We referenced it, and we should maybe again, if you're just joining us, they did make an arrest of somebody who looked threatening over by the East Annex here on the legislative grounds. It was just in the moment that we were expecting the Royals to arrive in their motorcade. And it slowed things up considerably, I think, while they did a very quick security sweep after they took him into custody. He was carrying bear spray, we hear.
He was apparently heading for the stage area, at least that's what they believe.
But that threat's been neutralized.
That was taken care of, and so far, no other hiccups in this visit.
Carol James.
What do they talk about, do you think?
They talk about all sorts of things. It all depends who it is. But I'm sure, as you say, some of the people that William's meeting, he'll have a personal interest in. For example, if he's meeting the Green Party leader, as you said earlier on, I'm sure he'll probably make reference to some issues there that he's going to take up. And I'm not sure who he's talking to at the moment, but
that's Carol James, who's a local MLA, formerly the leader of the NDP. The leader of the opposition here in BC.
She was having a good laugh, so I don't know. Marvellous to be a fly on the wall there now, wouldn't it? fly in the air.
Speaking now to the member for Saanich North and the Islands, Gary Holman.
You can see there Kate working the crowd. She's much more relaxed than she used to be at this, and she's growing into this role. And, I wonder at the end of her royal career how many people she would have spoken to. Thousands and thousands and thousands. It's if anyone ever adds these things up, it must be extraordinary.
It is hard to imagine.
Yeah. And how many hands they shake over the course of a royal career.
And you're not supposed to extend your hand to them, you wait for them?
William and Kate are much more relaxed. I read in one of the papers this morning said that there was this etiquette and you should call them their Royal Highnesses, but they're not like that at all. They're more than happy for you to call them William and Kate.
Really?
Yeah, they are. Wow. They're very relaxed.
Oh, wow.
They wouldn't be offended at all.
Okay. Because I'm sure people forget themselves too, getting very excited. And
Certainly.
No, William's made it much more informal, and he's more than happy for people to call him William and Kate, or William and Catherine, likes to be called, doesn't like being called Kate.
The Mayor of Victoria now speaking to Prince William. Her Worship, Lisa Helps. Obviously, her city has taken on a huge responsibility. And they've really done a great job. The city was very prepared. And
financially, too, with the policing costs for Victoria Police for this as well.
Also, great backdrop, isn't it?
Also greeting the Mayor of Sydney, Steve Price. Sydney, about a half-hour drive north of Victoria.
And we mentioned earlier, Phil, how important a recognition and inclusion of First Nations are to the Prince and to the royal family. Chief of the Esquimalt First Nation, Chief Andy Thomas, greeting the Prince there. Chief of the Songhees First Nation, Chief Ron Sam, next to him. And I actually had a chance. There's going to be a very special ceremony on Monday. The black rod that the Sergeant-at-Arms uses to open a new session of the legislature. It's a beautiful, ornate staff that's used. It has 3 rings on it today that represent British Columbia, Canada, and the link to the royal family. And William will be asked to present and place a 4th ring on the staff.
He's not going to be asked to bang it on the door, though.
He may get that chance.
If he feels like the black rod back home,
but that
will be required to bang it on the door.
That's exactly right. Well, it's after the Westminster tradition, 600 years of tradition. And when Prince William slides that 4th ring on, it will signify, have great significance for First Nations. It'll symbolize their inclusion in.
That's a nice symbolic gesture, isn't it?
It sure is.
Also the chief of the Sakem First Nation, Tanya Jimmy. The chief of the Pakwachin First Nation, Rebecca Harris, is there as well.
And at the end of the road there, at the end of the line, is the clerk of the Legislative Assembly, Mr. Craig James, who is the keeper of the black rod. It's in his office.
Yeah. So it's
So yes, a little behind schedule because this portion of the ceremony was originally set to take place at 5:13, and it is 5:52 now.
So it is quite far behind, isn't it? Yeah. It's but these things happen, and you can't always get everything running like clockwork, and
but
they'll make the best of it. But it will be a shame if they don't spend if they do have to cut down the time talking to the public. If so many of the dignitaries want to have a chat, don't they? By the look of it.
The time they're spending here with this welcoming line, it shows that they really do like to spend time and chat with people. And hopefully at the end of this, they will be able to spend the time with members of the public as well.
The problem is going to be getting them away from people, not getting them to talk to people. And although by the end of the week, when they're a bit tired, perhaps they might feel differently about that.
Is there someone who gives them that, we need to get moving, who prompts them?
There will be if it carries on too much. Yeah, I mean, certainly they'll be prompted. The officials will start tomorrow. The private secretary, I haven't actually seen him yet, Miguel Head. I think he's on the trip, but he will at some point make a decision to try and speed things up a bit.
What is this position?
His private secretary.
Oh, the private secretary.
Yeah, I haven't actually seen him yet. I'm sure he's here.
So they'll make their way.
The press secretary.
They'll make their way up the stairs. I think Prince.
I think William's just said to Kate, we need to speed it up a bit.
Yeah.
And that was kind of and there they go. So
and mind the stairs.
Was she paying attention to it?
I think so. They'll be signing the books you see on that table a little bit later, but at the moment, I think it's just a matter of getting the party, the welcoming party, up the stairs and
before nightfall.
Before nightfall. We're quickly running out of time. You saw just on the corner there, the yank on the rope and the unfurling of His Royal Highness's personal Canadian standard.
This is the 21-gun salute fired by the 5th Field Regiment, Royal Canadian Artillery. Prince William going to inspect the Guard of Honor, along with the Guard Commander, Lieutenant Commander Michael Irwin.
I was thinking in these situations, it does help that William is so tall, you know, because it's. I mean, obviously, if he was 5'4", he'd be 5'4". But it just, you know, when you're inspecting like that, it looks good.
Just the burst of the fire just rattles the air here, and you can feel it in your bones.
This is a conversation he won't forget. Does he just choose someone randomly to chat with in this kind of a situation, or would someone have been chosen or pointed out to him?
That's a very good question. Sometimes they're chosen in advance, but sometimes they just pick on somebody. And I mean, Prince Philip and the Queen are past masters of that. You know, they'll tend to focus in on someone and spot them. And I think it comes with the more you do, the more you sort of realise as a royal the people to talk to and the people perhaps not to talk to. I think, judging by that, it looks to me like he's picking people at random. I wouldn't say that was planned.
I wish I could read lips. You said
yeah, might have
it'd be nice to have one on staff here to feed us the lines. We've only got a minute or so left in our special coverage here on this channel, but we're going to continue, obviously, our coverage on the main channel. I want to thank those viewers in Okanagan who've been with us for this royal special as well.
If you are watching us there, you will be joining Donna Friesen and Global National at 6 p.m. A lot of royal coverage on Global National as well. Our coverage will continue here on BC One and Global BC, though, so all royals all the time. You can feel that each time it's fired. You can definitely feel it.
You sort of you try to anticipate it so it doesn't startle you when it happens, but I lost count. The 21 in the middle of the 21-gun salute, and Prince William, after he's done the inspection here, will make his way back to the dais. And we'll hear our first formal speeches. And not one of them looked in the itinerary longer than a couple of minutes, so we know that'll be quick.
And of course, after we hear from the Governor General, the Prime Minister, the Premier, the Lieutenant Governor, we will then hear from Prince William, the Duke of Cambridge himself.
All of that coming up in our next hour of coverage right here on Global BC. Good evening for our viewers here on Global BC. You are watching the NewsHour live from Victoria as we continue our live coverage of the royal visit. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you for joining us. There is Prince William inspecting the Guard of Honor. You can hear in the background as well the 21-gun salute. I lost count. I'm not sure how far into it they are. This is the 5th Field Regiment, the Royal Canadian Artillery. And Prince William stopping here and there to chat with members of the Guard of Honor.
Mm-hmm. And he has been chatting as he goes. And it's been really interesting to see him engage with members of the Guard of Honor.
We are, of course, joined by Phil Dampier, a journalist who's been covering the royal family for, I won't say 30 years or so.
Celebrating
Phil.
my 30th anniversary.
Well, happy anniversary. Phil has been a great resource to us during our royal coverage, and he joins us now for the NewsHour as well. And it did start, the ceremony here did start about half an hour late because we'll let you know there was an arrest made, a man apparently with bear spray who was arrested by the East Annex. It's believed he was heading toward the stage, so that may have been the holdup that delayed the festivities, the ceremony here for the welcoming ceremony.
I think so. I think there would have been a security sweep after that incident, and to me the security looks very, very tight there, so they're probably quite nervous.
You mentioned that there were a number of the dark suits, the people who are obviously members of the Prince's security detail, following much more closely than you would normally have.
Yeah, I think
so.
To me, it looked like they were, and it's always unfortunate when you have an incident. Kate there's had to have quite a long chat while he's been inspecting, but we're now running, what, 3/4 of an hour behind schedule?
Mm-hmm.
So it's...
It is impressive, isn't it? Round of applause for the Royal Canadian Navy Maiden Band. Off the saluting dais and down to their seats for the continuation of the formal program here at the BC Legislature.
So on that dais, of course, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge. Also the Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, and his wife, Sophie. Governor General, David Johnston, and his wife, Sharon. The Lieutenant Governor, Judith Guichon. Premier Christy Clark and her son, Hamish.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome their Royal Highnesses, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge.
Oh, she's cute.
That chap in the middle there, that's the guy I was telling you about. That's Miguel Head, who's their private secretary, sitting behind them. He used to be their press officer, very nice guy.
Okay.
And he's now their private secretary, so he's gone up in the world.
He has, yeah.
And
so he's like the right-hand man.
seems to be more, very
sort
much
of like a
so.
chief of staff.
Yeah, private secretary, and he'll be the main man planning behind this. And of course, with his press background, he's got a good experience of. Doesn't talk to us very much anymore, but he.
It's funny how they turn when they would go on the other side.
But with this particular shot, there seems to be more of him on there than the rest of the Duke and Duchess.
That is a bigger cheer than the Royals.
Yeah. Well, he's still popular at the moment. Then. Give it time.
That's what they say. For now, the honeymoon.
Exactly. It's lasted a while.
It has.
And the Premier of British Columbia, the Honourable Christy Clark.
Oh. It's a bit of a muted
Your Royal
welcome.
Highnesses, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to call upon the Governor-General of Canada, His Excellency the Right Honourable David Johnston, to offer words of welcome. Vos Altesses Royales, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs, j'ai le plaisir d'inviter le Gouverneur général du Canada, Son Excellence le très honorable David Johnston, à dire quelques mots de bienvenue.
The Governor General, David Johnston.
Your Royal Highnesses, Prime Minister, Your Honor, Premier, distingués invités, Mesdames et Messieurs. Let me start by acknowledging that we are gathering today on the traditional territories of the Lac-Pungin people, including the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. Your Royal Highnesses, it's such a pleasure for us to welcome you back to Canada on Pacific time this time around. When we last welcomed you to Canada in 2011, you were on your very first tour as a married couple. Now you've come back as a family, and we couldn't be happier for you. We're delighted to welcome Prince George and Princess Charlotte to Canada for the very first time. May it be the first of many, many visits. Vous commencez aujourd'hui votre tournée en Colombie-Britannique et au Yukon. Votre programme s'annonce fort chargé et il sera très intéressant. Vos activités seront axées sur la santé mentale, la culture, l'environnement, le service et bien d'autres thèmes que vous sont chers, ainsi qu'aux Canadiens. While in British Columbia and Yukon, you'll be meeting with smart and caring Canadians in places such as Hawaii, Bella Bella, and Carcross, to name a few. And you'll be getting around by a uniquely Canadian variation of planes, trains, and automobiles. Float plane, hovercraft, and hide a canoe. I'm sure Her Majesty approves of your adventurous spirit. J'aimerais vous dire à quel point nous sommes heureux de vous revoir en cette année de 90e anniversaire de la naissance de Sa Majesté la Reine, notre souveraine. Comme vous le savez, nous allons bientôt célébrer un autre anniversaire important, le 150e anniversaire du Canada en 2017. Canada's 150th anniversary will be quite a party. And any celebration of Canada is by definition a celebration of the Crown. The Crown is such an important part of this country. It's a safeguard. It's a safeguard for our rights and freedoms, and it helps ensure the responsibility and the continuity of our government. And because the Crown's representatives are individuals, a family, It reminds us that people always come first. I want to thank you, Your Royal Highnesses, for being part of the human face of our constitutional monarchy. Je vous remercie de nous visiter à nouveau. Vous verrez des lieux et des gens extraordinaires. Welcome back and have a wonderful journey. Merci.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Merci, Votre Excellence. I invite the Prime Minister of Canada, the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, to offer his remarks. J'invite le Premier ministre du Canada, le très honorable Justin Trudeau, à prendre la parole.
Thank you. Merci beaucoup, Victoria. Merci pour ce bel accueil. Vos Altesses royales, c'est un privilège pour moi et Sophie d'être ici avec le gouverneur général, la lieutenant-gouverneur et la première ministre pour vous souhaiter la bienvenue au Canada. I know you visited Canada before, but as any parent who has traveled with children knows, it's a whole different experience when you bring your family with you. I want to commend you and thank you for introducing our part of the world to Prince George and Princess Charlotte. Though, let me caution you from my own experience, if they're anything like our kids, getting them back on the plane after a visit to our beautiful West Coast will really be a challenge. In addition to British Columbia, you will also have a chance to visit the Yukon, truly one of the most spectacular parts of our country. I know you will enjoy it, and I'm confident that wherever you go, Canadians will make you feel right at home. De la part de tous les Canadiens, bienvenue.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Merci, Monsieur le Premier Ministre. I would now ask the Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, Son Honneur l'Honorable Judith Guichon, à nous adresser la parole.
Your Royal Highnesses, Your Excellencies, Prime Minister Trudeau and Madame Sophie Gregoire Trudeau, Premier Clark, Chiefs, distinguished guests, friends and family. I also wish to begin by acknowledging with respect the history, wisdom, and culture of all of our British Columbian First Nations, and in particular, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations, on whose territory we're gathered today. It is an honor to welcome to Canada for the first time as a family, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and their young children. We appreciate this opportunity to celebrate the inherited traditions of our constitutional monarchy, the strong foundation of our democratic nation, and to strengthen the family relations amongst the Crown, its representative, and the First Nations and all Canadians. 2017 will be a wonderful year as we toast our sesquicentennial from sea to sea to sea. This anniversary will help our young nation grow, not in territory, but in understanding, diversity, inclusivity, ingenuity, and magnanimity. We look forward to sharing time with their Royal Highnesses as they visit the many diverse communities, the volunteers and generous British Columbians who strive to sustain and enhance our province for future generations. We are ever mindful that it is from our children and grandchildren that we borrow, and we owe them the opportunity to inherit stable communities based on clean water and healthy soils. Your Highnesses, may you enjoy safe travels and collect beautiful memories for you and your family during your visit to our province.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would now invite the Premier of British Columbia, the Honourable Christy Clark, to give her remarks. J'invite maintenant la Première ministre de la Colombie-Britannique, l'Honorable Christy Clark, à prendre la parole.
Thank you very much, and welcome all of you to the grounds of the People's House at the Legislature of British Columbia. And thank you in particular to the Lekwungen people, the Esquimalt, the Songhees First Nation, for welcoming us to your traditional lands with such grace and such a warm welcome. Thank you very, very much. Your Royal Highnesses, welcome to British Columbia and to Canada. Prime Minister Trudeau, Mrs. Trudeau, thank you very much as well. Lieutenant Governor Guichon, and of course, our Governor General, David Johnston, and his wife Sharon, thank you for joining us. This city is named after Prince George and Princess Charlotte's great, 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 great grandmother. That is 5 greats. And Queen Victoria certainly deserved 5 greats. She was a strong, determined, and resilient woman. And I think she'd be very proud of this city and the people in it, in the city that bears her name so proudly. In British Columbia, we are also so proud of the incredible ecosystems and wildlife that you can find here that are found nowhere else on the globe. And we look very much forward to showing those to you, Your Royal Highnesses, in your visit. Our people are diverse, our communities are diverse. This entrepreneurial, warm, historic city of Victoria. We'll go to the beautiful Okanagan and its desert-like climate. We'll go to Haida Gwaii and experience the most beautiful First Nations, some of the most beautiful First Nations culture you can find. And we will also go to the Great Bear Rainforest, a gift of the people of British Columbia to the world. 7% of our entire province set aside to protect the ancient trees, the white bears, and that ecosystem that is so fragile. Protected for the world by the people of British Columbia forever. And so last, Your Royal Highnesses, Victoria is an historic city, and it's often a place where we can think of our shared history and our shared present. When we take you to Great Bear Rainforest, you will get a chance to experience the pristine wilderness where we experience and think about our shared future. And now, to help me welcome Your Highnesses to British Columbia, it is my pleasure to introduce to you the Victoria Children's Choir singing Gai le Rossier and I Am the Song. Thank you. Merci.
You heard the Premier. You heard the Premier introduce Victoria Children's Choir, accompanied by the Naden Band of the Royal Canadian Navy. They'll perform 2 songs, and after that, we will hear from Prince William.
The Victoria Children's Choir, singers aged 7 to 18. Victoria Children's Choir will be celebrating Canada's 150th birthday in the Maritimes in July.
Well, I thought they sounded good during their rehearsal. They sound angelic.
Lovely, the Victoria Children's Choir.
Thank you, the Victoria
And now,
Children's Choir.
another moment the crowd has been waiting for.
Absolutely.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, mesdames et messieurs, His Royal Highness, the Duke of Cambridge, Son Altesse Royale, le Duc de Cambridge.
Your Excellency, Prime Minister, Your Honour, Premier, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is a pleasure to be welcomed in such a beautiful setting, here on the traditional Lekwungen territory, the Songhees and Esquimalt First Nations. Catherine and I are delighted to be back in Canada. When we were here last time, we'd been married only 3 months. The warm welcome that you gave us at that important moment in our lives meant a lot to us, and we have never forgotten it. That is why we are so pleased that George and Charlotte can be with us in Canada this time around, beginning their own lifetime of friendship with this wonderful country. Over the next week, Catherine and I will see once again what makes Canada such a special place in the world. Canada is a country much esteemed for its strong values and for the great contribution it makes to peace, prosperity, and human rights. This week, we will witness much about ourselves through the diversity of the Canadian people, your pristine environment, your armed. Catherine and I have asked to meet as many people from as many walks of life as we can while we are here. We are very much looking forward to learning about how Canadians are tackling some of the biggest challenges of the day, including the environment, supporting young families, and the mental health of young people, subjects about which we are both passionate. We are very grateful to the Canadian government and the governments of British Columbia and Yukon for putting together a unique program for us. we feel very fortunate to have time to get to really know parts of this country that we did not get to visit in 2011, but of which I have very happy memories as a shy teenager. Yeah. A few of you remember it too well, I think. One final word, if I may, about two important milestones. As Canada approaches its 150th anniversary next year, we're excited to meet and interact with the young people who will lead this country into its next few decades. And in the year of the Queen's 90th birthday, I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to thank the people of Canada for the warmth and generosity they've extended to my grandmother throughout her reign. The Queen has asked me to extend her warmest greetings to you and her thanks for all the goodwill you have shown her during her 90th birthday year. Nous sommes très heureux d'être de retour au Canada. Nous vous remercions d'être venus en si grand nombre pour nous accueillir. Nous vous remercions aussi d'avoir accepté de partager avec nous la beauté de ces pays magnifiques. It's a little rusty, work with me. Catherine, George, Charlotte and I are very pleased to be here. Thank you for welcoming us so warmly. Merci.
Thank you, Your Royal Highness. Ladies and gentlemen, I now ask you to rise and join with the Victoria Children's Choir and the Naden Band of Royal Canadian Navy in the singing of our national anthem, O Canada. Je vous invite à vous joindre au Victoria Children's Choir et à la musique de Naden de la Marine royale canadienne pour chanter notre hymne national.
General salute!
Lovely performance, well received by the Victoria Children's Choir, accompanied by the Naden Band of the Royal Canadian Navy. Their Royal Highnesses, escorted by the Canadian Equerry, will step down from the platform. They'll go to a signing table. We caught a glimpse of that a little bit earlier.
And they will be signing two books, the Government of Canada Golden Book and the British Columbia Distinguished Visitors Book. Certainly our distinguished visitors.
That's right.
The remarks by Prince William charmed the crowd. What do you think of his French, Phil? He did get into it?
Seems to have got worse.
Catherine looked a little...
Yeah, he's I was surprised. I thought he's like me, a left-hander there, in that strange left-handed way we have of writing.
Mm-hmm. So
you don't see that smudge yet. Yeah, that's right. All the American presidents recently have been left-handed, haven't they? It's very strange when you see them, but yeah, it's always odd. I think I was the first reporter to notice he was left-handed when he was about 4 and he signed something at school.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, that's
you
right.
broke the news.
Yeah, I did 30 years ago. Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah,
but
Not that we're counting.
I was one of the first to notice.
Well, some lovely comments and thoughts about their previous visit to Canada, and they were only 3 months married at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
They were here.
It was nice of him to mention the Queen there. I think that was very, very heartfelt. I think I would have been very surprised if he hadn't sent the Queen's best wishes, particularly in this 90th birthday year. And as I say, I have heard rumours that on this tour, talking to people, that there is a possibility, slightly teary there, Kate. Look, strange. I'm not sure what. Whether she was wiping away a tear or just something caught her eye there. She looked a little bit.
And there she's receiving the flowers from Victoria Foster.
She's getting hay fever, perhaps, I don't know.
Or she's just traveled all the way from England, so there's that. So the flowers from Victoria Foster.
Yeah, this is a young girl, a really fascinating story from Dunrobe in Ottawa. And her wish, Miss Foster's wish, was to meet the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge.
And Children's Wish Foundation made that come true. She's also traveled to the UK a couple of times. She's had the opportunity to visit Buckingham Palace just this year. She's also been to Windsor Castle. She has memorized all the names of the kings and queens of England in order since William the Conqueror.
Well, I certainly couldn't do that, so she's got one over on me there.
I think we see a future royal correspondent.
I could go back into the last century, but I'm not sure I could go back to William the Conqueror.
Even that's impressive, Phil.
I think there's about 42 of them, I think, something like that, 44 of them. Of course, the Queen they are direct descendants from William the Conqueror, so I mean, it's a fascinating history, and it's going to go on.
When did you first? Were you her age? Were you older than that? Younger when you first grew to love and be curious about the royal family?
What, that girl or Kate?
That girl, the young girl, not the younger girl.
I've always been interested in the royals, but in terms of reporting, I was actually a general news reporter in the mid-1980s, and it was quite simply one day I walked into the office and the editor said, "You're doing the royals," and it was as simple as that. And funny enough,
was that a good gig or was that
it was a great gig? My first royal tour was in 1987 with the Duke and Duchess of York, and we went up to the Northwest Territories and Yellowknife. And it was the big difference between then and now is that the tours then were a lot longer. It was 3 weeks,
right?
Whereas now this is only 10 days.
She's just accepted a bouquet, so I guess the Duchess bait and the Prince bait has worked.
Yeah, they're going to have to start handing those flowers back because she's not going to be able to carry them all.
The crowds, it's behind us, but the crowds are making their way, just trying to get a glimpse.
She may have seen me.
It's nice.
I'm not sure.
Chris is waving to her as well.
The Prince.
It's nice to turn around and actually see them, isn't it?
It is.
I have been on some royal tours where I don't think I've seen them at all.
They are moving rather quickly. People are running to try to get a better look.
Oh, and Claudia, the young lady there, she'll be thankful, appreciative that I called her a young lady. In the red coat there, I spoke to her before this event started, and she has followed the royals around, and it's her dream, she said, to hand a bouquet to Kate, and she got that chance. I'm so happy for her.
And there you go. She stopped to see the little girl. More flowers.
Very sweet and very kind.
So after this, they will head back to Government House for a little private meeting with the Governor General and the Prime Minister. Prince William was referring to the last visit to BC when he was the shy teenager, and the girls were screaming for him.
That's right. That was only a year after his mother died, I think, and as you say, the crowds were going wild in those days. He was very much a pin-up, but slightly different to how he does today. And I think those memories are still very fresh to him.
But you know,
around about 18, I think he really grew up very quickly and changed quite rapidly. And
I think his interests and his national service and his military service have done a lot for him.
Yeah, they have, yeah. I mean, he was interviewed the other day talking about his work with the air ambulance service, and he got quite emotional about it, actually, because he has turned up at the scenes of some dreadful accidents, and some people have actually died at roadside accidents that he's turned up to. And as you say, I think he's quite a rounded person, you know, a combination of his schooling and university, being in the armed forces, working as an air ambulance pilot, and
well, the adoration.
Is normal, fans, Chris.
The adoration is universal here. Thank you, ladies.
Now they're taking their time to chat with the crowd.
They are, and there are just a few. We're just right behind that white tent you see on the shot, so it is great to be this close and to see them extending a hand to the young boy there.
Prince William getting his fair share of bouquets as well. And that heavy security presence that we mentioned, closer, Phil, than you would normally see.
Certainly, there seems to be a lot of security guys there, but at the moment it's going well, and this is what they've said they'd like to do, meet as many people as possible. I'm sure they'll meet several thousand on this trip. And there's, I'm not sure we got quite, he's dropped something
nice
there.
Catch.
Yeah.
Well, he was a rugger man at Eton, at least a little bit, so good to know he's still got the skills, he's still got the hands.
He likes football, actually. He's quite a good footballer, not bad. And of course, he's chairman of the Football Association, which I always think is a bit of a good gig. You know, you get to go to all the matches.
Being a Prince seems like a pretty good gig.
I'm still shattered that he chose football over rugby, but at least he got some of his formative years in rugby. It builds character, Phil. It builds character.
There is a famous story about, I don't know if you had him over here, Tommy Cooper, who was the very popular British comedian, and he once said to the Queen, "Do you like football?" And she said, "Well, not really." He said, "Well, can I have your cup final tickets?" And she was guest of honour.
Cheeky.
It was cheeky. He could get away with it.
Giving the crowd lots of opportunity to get their photos.
And this is a part of the program that really isn't structured.
This is the nicest part. The walkabout started by the Queen in the early 1970s, almost sort of by accident. I think started in New Zealand, and has been a royal tradition ever since then. And it's like your Prime Minister signing autographs there.
So they didn't really do that before.
No, not before then. They were further from the crowds, and I think this interaction is always the nicest part. And we often get some of our best stories from these, because you talk to people afterwards and find out what they said, and sometimes they come out with an interesting tidbit about the family or whatever. So I should really be down there.
So this woman here who's behind Catherine.
That's Rebecca Deacon. That's her personal, very much her personal assistant.
I see.
She's very much the sort of mastermind for Kate's general appearance and her work schedule, and she works very closely with her.
And is that a relationship that grew out of her entrance into the royal family, or did she know?
Yeah, she's been with her some time, and in fact, she was recently Rebecca was recently going out with one of their press secretaries, a guy called Nick Lochran. They split up actually, and he's now left the royal service. Nothing to do with that, but they come and they go, and it's very rare for people to stay with the royals for decades. They do tend to have a high turnover of staff. People tend to stay 5-10 years.
Must be a very demanding job.
It's a demanding job, and it's not, some of these people are very talented, and it's not always the best paid job. They can make a lot more money in the commercial world when they leave.
It's taking a great deal of time.
It always makes me laugh when they meet people. Some people stare directly at them, and some people kind of get shy and start looking down, but there's one telling her all about her baby, and that's always a good subject for Kate, obviously, to have a chat with.
As we heard earlier, Duchess bait.
Duchess bait there, but it's certainly working today, isn't it? Just chatting like any normal
It's
mums.
true. Yep, generous with her time.
Over the washing. Over
attentive,
the
right. Yeah. Attentive and friendly. And that's, again, a part of what makes them so popular.
Some of these people have been waiting for hours, and it's worth it for them.
see our satellite truck and a microwave truck in the background there. A little setup.
I think it's time to keep moving, get in the vehicles, and
I see, just putting his arm around her there and saying, unfortunately, we're slightly behind schedule, darling, so we better move on.
And a final farewell from the Premier, although I'm sure they will see each other again over at the residence on Monday, especially for another special ceremony. But what a lovely event for everybody who has taken part in it and witnessed it. And Phil, as they get into the car, I know that our time with you is drawing to a close. I want to thank you so much for your
Thank you very much.
and expertise.
No, thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure.
You've been a great resource.
Thanks,
Lots
Sophie.
of information.
Thanks a lot.
Phil. Thank you. And enjoy the rest of our province while you're here.
I will. I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
All right, we appreciate you joining us for this very special Royal Visit broadcast. We'll be pulling away in just a moment.
The royal couple and their entourage will be heading back to Government House. And the dignitaries there, the Governor General, the entourage there will be heading back as well. And then, presumably, the streets will reopen in downtown Victoria.
And away they go. There, shockingly, is a lot that's gone on in the world other than the royal visit. We'll take a look at some of those things as the news hour continues. I'm just being told there's no time for that.
All right, for the moment, though, as the royals head back to Government House, we will take a break here on the news hour. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Yeah, waiting for the next one.
Prime Minister Justin Trudeau just got into that Suburban, gave a bit of a rock star wave to the crowd as he had cheered for him, and he will be heading back to Government House as well.
Bigger cheers for Justin Trudeau than even for Prince William, but obviously a loving reception for the royals here. And interestingly enough, our very own Sonia Diol has been mingling with the crowds down there and has a very interesting story to tell about her interaction with Kate as they were going by.
Sonia.
Absolutely, Chris and Sophie. You know, I'm meant to be quite a... Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Chris and Sophie. Okay, perfect. I will tell you. I'm supposed to be this very calm, very neutral journalist and reporter. And I've got to tell you, I've been swept away by royal mania myself here. There was a little gap in the crowd where we were stationed. So I found that gap, and then there were a couple of people that were really nicely kind of let me through. And as the Duchess of Cambridge was walking past, I just put my hand out and I said to her, hi, and I think I called her Kate, and you're not supposed to, but hi Kate, and how are you? And she said, I'm fine. And I said, I'm from England too. So I used that, unfortunately. I said, I'm from England too, how are you? And she said, oh, when did you come here? And I said, no, I live here. I used to work at the BBC, but I work for a station called Global BC now. She said, oh, right, that's great. And I said, anyway, you look fantastic. How are you? She goes, I'm good. And I said, how are the children? The children looked fantastic. She said, the children are slightly overwhelmed. Now, I know this sounds like a chat that I've had with a mate, but it honestly felt like that. It did not feel like I just had a chat with the Duchess of Cambridge. She was casual, she was warm, and she talked to me like I'd known her for years. So that was quite a moment. After her, Justin Trudeau and his wife were walking past. I did, again, shamelessly put my hand out again to Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister, and he shook my hand too. And then I said, you got a bigger cheer bigger than the royal couple, it seemed. He said, no, I don't think so, and was quite humble, and then they carried on walking. So there's my little royal story. Got very, very close, and I'd say the day's been worth it.
Not shameless at all, Sonia. That's good reporting. Way to go.
Oh, that's fascinating. We happen to see the top of their heads going past us on the path behind here. Fantastic that she got a chance to get that close. And it's a demonstration once again, Keith Baldry with us now, a demonstration once again of how warm and friendly and open they have been in their interactions with the crowd here.
Yeah, now Keith, you've been here
long time, 30 years.
Yeah, and you covered the Queen's visit in 2002 as well.
Covered the Queen, covered Princess Diana. I can say this is the biggest event I've ever seen at the legislature, both in terms of the crowd size. It wasn't so much necessarily the people on the lawn, there was a lot of them, but also the surrounding streets. Phenomenal numbers of people across on the harbor, 5 deep, the intersections jammed up on the street over here, just to see them drive by. There was thousands of people there. And then you combine that with the huge media footprint here. I've never seen, we've got 7 television stations going live here. You've got way more British media here in terms of photographers. That riser there behind us, the biggest one I've ever seen constructed here for any event. So without a doubt, I think in all my experience here, the biggest one of all time.
Well, we're just having a look. We're showing you the arrival of the Canadian government airplane out at 443 Squadron. They arrived a little bit late, but and that tended to push the agenda and itinerary back a little bit. But
took over our newscast.
It took over our newscast, of course it did. But as it should, a lot of people very curious about the royal couple, very interested in seeing them and hearing what Prince William had to say in his address to the crowd here. And he pushed a number of buttons, I think, thankfully for people here.
And again, I've covered the Queen several times, and Prince Charles when he was here with Camilla a few years ago. I think Kate Middleton now has restored sort of the rock star aspect of the royal family that was there with Princess Diana. I remember covering Diana in '86. They're huge crowds, her charisma, just really connected with people. And we saw that again, and we are seeing it with Kate Middleton today as we saw the ceremony earlier.
Well, certainly our Sonia Diol was struck by the Kate effect.
Yeah, and a wonderful, really a wonderful reception from the crowd here. And it is true, Justin Trudeau was humble about it. He got a bigger cheer in terms of in terms of volume than the Prince did, but still, I think this crowd is very thankful for the opportunity to have seen Prince William, and they were gracious and graceful.
I talked to a lot of people in the crowd today. I was handing out those global stickers saying welcome to the royal event, and I can tell you the crowd was warm and positive and patient. People have been here since 4 or 5 a.m. And showed no signs of fatigue. So it's again a very warm welcome for the royals.
Lots of security around, Keith. I know they sort of invaded your space.
They're
as well.
in my office, a building behind here, the Armory, home to about 60 RCMP and Victoria Police officers today. Again, a security presence I've never seen of this scale in all my years here. And again, you don't see security. The best security is hidden, and there was a lot of security here that you weren't necessarily aware of, but a very heavy security presence here just in case. We had that one arrest, as you mentioned, of one fellow, but thankfully no incidents. But I guess that's the fact of present times. It's just the case that you're going to have heavy security, particularly, I think, with the British royal family.
Well, we saw, I mean, you you mentioned that you don't often see they're hidden or they're supposed to blend in, but we did see quite a few that, uniformed and those in plain clothes as well. So just imagine how many more behind the scenes that we couldn't see.
The balcony up behind us there in the legislature, where people may have seen people coming and going up there, but a lot of them were basically police officers maintaining a pretty cautious vigil over the entire crowd today.
All right, Keith, we appreciate you being a part of this very special broadcast too. Yeah, a lot of fun. We're going to take a short break and be back with more coverage of the royal visit to Canada in a moment.
I'll be sitting straight. All right.
They came down so quickly, but Kate came along and she said, "Oh, what lovely roses," and I simply said to her, "Thank you for coming to Victoria."
And so just to rewind a little bit with that. So
okay.
as you see them walking down the red carpet, and you've been in that position since 11 o'clock
Yes,
this
I have.
morning, and you see the Duchess of Cambridge walking down, and then did you make eye contact with her? How did she get or how did you get her attention?
Well, she actually, there was a bouquet of roses just ahead of mine, and of course I just had mine right there, so she actually stopped. And it was just the fact that she was on my side, and I think, the stars were aligned, and there she was. It was just lovely. She looked beautiful.
And it must have gone by so fast,
It did.
but what do you remember about the conversation you had with her?
She looked at me and she said, "Oh, what lovely roses." And that's when I just simply said to her, my line was, thank you for coming all this way to Victoria.
Oh, and did she respond?
Yes, she did.
What did she say?
She simply said, thank you.
Oh,
yep.
How do you now feel after spending all day here for those few seconds with them?
Oh, I think it's absolutely worth it. I am a royalist, as you can tell. And I think that it's far, far better to be here in person than it is sitting in front of a camera, in front of a television.
Couldn't put it better myself. Really couldn't. Chris and Sophie, back to you.
They're
All right.
basking in the glow right now, aren't they?
It really is. And, you know, I spoke to that lady, Claudia, just before when she showed up around 11 o'clock. She said, it's my dream to hand these roses to Kate. I'm so happy to see that it actually came true for her.
Dream came true. All right, we'll take a break here from the BC Legislature. We'll have much more royal coverage for you from Victoria in a moment.
And then they moved the line. He unput the barrier and moved it. The dad, or the kid, I don't know. Yeah, they moved it. It's a safety. If something falls, if the equipment falls. I also think it's pretty cool that when all being like, hey guys, and then realizing we're meeting. I'm like.
Well, here we are again at the BC Legislature, and pretty much most people have gone home now. But it was quite a day here. Squire Barnes joining us now. You were in amongst the crowd, crowds today.
Yeah, early in the morning, people arriving. The great thing was it was a happy crowd throughout the day. They had to wait a little longer than they thought they had to. That didn't bother them a bit. It was good energy right from the beginning. And the other nice thing was there were people who didn't even know each other who were side by side waiting, and they all became friends. Oh, I got some new friends. I got some new friends. And some Americans were here, and I said, hey, you guys kicked the Royals out in the 1700s, but apparently all's forgiven and they love the Royals now.
They were here enjoying the party and festivities as well. It was great. Some beautiful shots, and we got a chance to hear from Prince William, and he had some warm and kind things to say about Canadians and how they welcomed his mother and grandmother over the years, and just seeing the enthusiasm and joy on some of the young faces was fun to see.
And how they welcomed himself and Kate right after their wedding back in 2011. Now, of course, he's back in BC. Squire, just your thoughts, because I think you're one more to sort of observe from the background and not get caught up in the hype, but when you saw them,
You know, it's historical. It's a historical moment. There's no way. I mean, everybody who was here is not going to forget it, especially the people who met them. They will never forget this. And there's not a lot of events you can say that about in your lifetime. I won't forget this.
And that was one incredible moment. The first chance for us to get a glimpse of them coming off the airplane and down the stairs, and the first glimpse of Prince George and Princess Charlotte. Really special.
And of course, the kids did not come to the legislature, but we will see them at another point during this visit in BC, which of course everyone wants to see.
That's right. It is
so adorable.
It's quite the packed itinerary for them as well, and we'll continue to follow them and provide great coverage of the royal visit to Canada throughout the week they're here. Thanks very much for watching us today.
Good night.